afternoon. Welcome to another episode of The Hook. I am Adham Beydoun, joined by Dennis Fithian. What's up, Dennis? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing better than you. I heard that you got hit in the face by a softball.
Yeah, I took a line drive yesterday in our softball championship game. It was quite eventful, but I manned up and I played through it. So,
well, you know, that's what the mitt's for, man. You got to get that.
Yeah, you'd be amazed how fast the ball comes at you in softball. It's actually frustrating.
Were you a catcher?
Shortstop.
Shortstop. Right.
Yeah, I got a line drive taken to the face. Fish, I never got to hear your opinion on last night's game. I know you were on the morning show with Stick. How do you feel about the championship game? We did lose. So
I'm sad for you guys. I was hoping you guys would win. So the fact that you guys didn't win, it's very disappointing to me. I really wanted you guys to win. From what I hear, you guys had a good chance. I heard Joik Bell somehow randomly showed up, which was very nice to...
Joik Bell showed up like a champ.
You know, this is all different than what I was told. Fish was saying earlier that he thought that the shortstop making an error off of his face was the reason that it cost you guys the game. So,
to be fair, when I did get domed in the face, we were down 19 runs. That following inning, we scored 21 and we took the lead. It was an eventful day. We lost 37-34. Regardless, though, we have more important shit to talk about, and that is the Detroit Lions, which I can't stop talking about. Dennis, I really like this. We are going to discuss the winnable games this year for the Detroit Lions. I'll start with you. What games do you have circled this year that you believe are winnable games for the Detroit Lions?
Well, if I just take off my analysis glasses and I just focus in on the first game, I think they have a chance against San Francisco. I'm not going to pick them to beat San Francisco, but I think when you are a Lions fan and you see all the dour predictions and you see the Vegas lines and you know yourself that the coaching staff, the GM, and most everybody else is saying, hey, you know, this is going to be a 3-4 win season and you get 5 wins if you're lucky. You say, hey, well, let's just show them in that first game. And it is at home, so they've got that going for them. I looked at all of the road games, and I don't see any winnable games on the road for them, unfortunately. So it's going to have to be at Ford Field, and it's a real murderer's row for them. This is a tough part. Like, if you're going to be a surprise team in the NFL, you got to get off to a good start.
Yep.
Rarely do you go 0-2, 0-3, and then you know you see those numbers. They come up pretty quickly about chances of making the playoffs. And the first 3 games, I have a hard time saying that they're going to win any of those, but that's why I just focus in on that first one. But I do think as you start going down there and you see them going to the Packers and taking on the Ravens and Bears and Vikings on the road, there is a game that jumps out, and I think it's going to be the one that I'm circling as the one I'm most confident in, the Lions getting a victory. And that's going to take place on October 17th against the Bengals when they come in. I think that's... Okay. That's a real shot to get a W. Maybe they win a game or two before that, but I think Cincy is the one that's the one I feel most confident in.
Okay. The one I feel most confident in is going to be Thanksgiving Day against the Chicago Bears. I'll tell you why. That is I think the most important game for Dan Campbell. Lions have had a horrible track record over the last 10 years in Thanksgiving. I think that is his game he needs to win. If he's brought this culture, this energy, everything everyone's parading about in the offseason, it needs to happen on Thanksgiving Day. You can't lose that game. Detroit doesn't need another shitty Thanksgiving, to be frank. Having said that, I
just got to tell you about Thanksgiving. You know, there was a time when the Lions had an advantage on Thanksgiving. Like, you thought, all right, it's the holiday, it's the Lions, they're going to bring in an opponent, and they are going to win this game. But if you look at the record, it's actually not the case. I mean, the opponents are coming in, and they're licking their chops. But to your point, you're saying Campbell establishing something.
I think that's the most important
Lions game.
More important than Los Angeles, more important than any divisional game outside of that Thanksgiving Day. I think that's the most important game on the schedule. Having said that, if I take off my analytical glasses and I just look at their schedule, I'll tell you what. Did you play high school football, Dennis?
2 years I did.
2 years, okay. Do you remember state champ push-ups that you would do at the end of practice? Are you familiar with them?
What'd you call them?
State champs push-ups. We would do 50 push-ups at the end of every practice, screaming at the top of our lungs, State Champs 1, State Champs 2, State Champs 3. Keep in mind, we went 2-7 that season. But you know what? When you're training in the off-season, everything freaking feels good. It looks good. Everything's great. The roses are red. Girls look at you. They like you. And then you show up to the season, and all those State Champs push-ups don't mean shit. because you're just not good enough to beat the other teams that are just better than you. So when I look at the schedule, the first game that I think is winnable is actually week 8. I'm pushing it past Cincy. I'm going Philadelphia. Home against Philadelphia, I think that's a very, very winnable game. And the week after, they get into a bye week. So I think there's a lot of psychological aspects of it that go into it. You can't go into a bye week on a loss. It's just going to throw off the whole vibe. It's going to be a shitty 2-week span for you. I think they win that game. That's their first win of the year. If not, their second. Maybe they pull one off in Minnesota or Chicago. I doubt it. But I think they go into the bye week with 2 wins at most. Now, here's the good part for the Detroit Lions. They do have a bye week. And who do they play after the bye week? My favorite team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think the Detroit Lions will beat coming off a bye. I think they travel to Pittsburgh and beat them with no issues. I had already mentioned earlier the Thanksgiving game. I think that is a complete lock. And then there are only 2 more games outside of that. Away to Denver, away to Atlanta. Now, I agree with you. I don't see a winnable road game for them this year. It is brutal. They play away to Seattle, away to Atlanta, away to Denver, away to Los Angeles. It's a freaking grueling schedule. But Denver is Denver, and Atlanta is Atlanta. And that's what they've been over the last few years. Although I do think
And
Atlanta,
the road is the road, though. That's the thing.
That's the thing. I think Atlanta's going to surprise a lot of people this season. Matt Ryan, with everything going on, new head coach, I think they're going to make it work. Having said that, I only gave you 5 winnable games, Art. You guys are trying to convince me there's 10 on here. Again, I don't want to jump off track. We're talking about winnable games. I think those are the 5 that you can point out. You could add Cincinnati if you want in there. If you want to add one of the Vikings games, I wouldn't mind it. So what you're telling me is over a 17-game schedule, there are 7 winnable games. And of the 7, how many of those winnable games are you even going to win? Again, the Lions, I'm sure, will pull off an upset against one of the teams. I think week 1 actually is a good one to mark, considering both teams, it's the first game of the season. Anything can happen. The 49ers could drop the ball and lose that game. But week 2, week 3, you can't follow up Monday Night Football. You're not going to Lambeau and beating Green Bay on Monday night. You're not coming back home and beating Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. It's not going to happen. And it just gets worse and worse from there. I don't see it.
Yeah, the part about the opener saying anything can happen. The one thing, San Francisco, after coming off the Super Bowl, they had so many injuries last year. I think they lost the most players to games lost in the entire year. So
$111 million in salary cap was on the injured reserve list last season for the 49ers.
Yeah, so here they come back and they're healthy, and so that's the hard time that I have going with the Lions in the first game. But you do get to the second half of the season, and you do have teams that just get hit with injuries, and you just don't know what's going to happen. And then you always have like the wild card game. I would put, you said the most important game is Thanksgiving. I'll buy that. I'll buy that it's either, getting a divisional win. And since the Packers game that the Lions will play this year is at home and it's the final game, and I don't see the Lions being in position like that's going to be
a meaningful game.
Right. And for the Packers, it might not be either.
Yeah.
So that's one that I have a hard time saying, well, that's the one I'm going to circle. It's going to be the most meaningful game for the Lions. So it is going to come down to the Vikings and Bears for most meaningful game, and that's why I think what you're saying, Thanksgiving. It is our game. It's Detroit's game. It's been whatever since 1922 or whatever it's been, 33.
I was shocked to even agree with you yesterday when you brought up the Chicago Bears because I feel like people are sleeping on the Chicago Bears. I don't think they understand just how ready this team is to actually win a substantial amount of football games. It's actually a really difficult division. That's why I had the Packers winning it with only 11 wins, and that's with a 17-game schedule, let alone 16. I think the Vikings, Bears, and Packers are going to fight it out, and it's going to be super close. I pulled out 11-6, 9-8, 9-8 for the 3. Packers being the division champs. But again, the Bears have all the tools. All they need is Justin Fields to hit. Come week 3, week 4, they're not happy with Dalton. They make that decision. I could see the Bears winning 4 or 5 in a row easily, no doubts.
Well, the one thing you do is when you're sitting here in the off season, you throw everything out the window once the season starts. But you look at last year and say, hey, well, that was a playoff team. But if you know the history of the NFL, whether you want to go for 10 years or 20 years, half of the teams that made the playoffs last year don't make them. Yep. And there's always a team, I think over the last 6 years, you look that you
finish last and then
right, so you have that going for it. So that's why when I was sitting here yesterday and, you talk about the Packers and say, oh, well, no way, the Packers, man. Everybody's picking the Packers. And I do think that they have a little issue with the quarterback there. Yeah, everybody wants to win. They've got a good team and everything, but you get a little bit of adversity, and you're the Packers, and let's say you're one of those wide receivers that Aaron Rodgers looked out at and said, you guys all suck. Everybody but Devontae Adams. You drafted a quarterback. That's why I'm pissed off. That's why I was out in Hawaii.
How do you think that changes Green Bay's outlook? Because Aaron Rodgers actually came out yesterday and said, it wasn't even discussed with me that Matt LaFleur was going to be the head coach. I wasn't even part of the discussion. Keep in mind, Matt LaFleur, 26-6, 2 NFC Championship appearances. The guy can coach. But I feel like Aaron Rodgers is just coming out after everybody, and you don't know how that's going to affect the locker room. Packers could be an 8-9 win team this year if they completely explode. You don't know what can happen. If Devontae Adams goes down, Aaron Jones goes down, they lost Jamal Williams, now he's in Detroit. Like, you're going to bet on A.J. Dillon? I mean, there's so much that can go wrong for the Packers, which is why yesterday when you brought up that the Bears could be the divisional winners, I wasn't too shocked by that.
Yeah, if somebody wants to sit here and start telling me Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams and a 3-time MVP, and they get to play the Lions twice and the Vikings twice and all that, I understand that. And the Packers, they do look pretty good. I've seen them the last 2 years and how many wins they have, but the part about when you got to be the other side, and I know they're professionals and they all want to win, but you have a little adversity, and one of those wide receivers might be like, you know what, fuck Aaron Rodgers. You know what, he doesn't think I should be here. Screw him, and something like that. He drops the first ball, and it goes down like that. Aaron Rodgers after the game saying, you know what, if this is we wouldn't have drafted Love. We could have had somebody else in here. We could have had Justin Jefferson in here, and it starts like that, and he this year, I don't think he looks at the camera and people are all, he's telling you to relax, and spelling it out. I think people are going to look at him and, it's telling him to relax. They're going to be throwing up, 2 guns at him, telling him, screw it. So, important for the Packers to get off to a good start because all eyes really are going to be on 12 and everything when you act like he's acted here in the offseason. And I like that press conference that he had a couple of weeks ago. But the one part, and, I know he's the MVP. I know he's won the Super Bowl and all that. But when you're up there saying, guys are coming here to play with me. Let's be honest. It's a little bit – that put me off a little bit. Even if I was a Packers fan, I was like, you know what? We get that, Aaron. But
imagine Matthew Stafford coming out and during his prime in Detroit and being like, you know what, man, this is it's a hard city to play in. Nobody wants to come to Detroit. And if they do, it's because of me or Calvin. That's this is such a slap in the face. But honestly, the organization can't do anything to him in Green Bay, so it doesn't shock me. But here's something that I think will shock a lot of people, and that's Jared Goff's future with Detroit. I don't think people really understand what the roadmap is to whether he'll stay or leave in a year, 2 years' time, and that's something we're going to talk about right after we come back from the break. Thank you for tuning in on the Woodward Sports Network.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We are recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10.5 months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
a graduate
of Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech. Northwestern Tech.
Since 1919, Coast has pursued one mission: to make the working professional jobs safer and life easier. Today, Coast Lights are a favorite among tradesmen and women and outdoor enthusiasts, DIYers, first responders, and more. Visit coastportland.com and use WSN20 for 20% off your purchase. They stand by their products and back them up with a full-time warranty. Buying for the whole crew? Sign up with our Coast crew to take advantage of special discounts and early access to new products.
Show me the light,
more.
damn it.
Again, that's 20% off Coast, word WSN20.
Show me the light.
This is a very cool light because it has 3
Turn it
modes.
on.
Super bright.
There you go.
Medium, low, off.
All
High,
right, thanks,
medium,
Fish, for the
low,
demonstration.
Well, I'm showing.
We really appreciate it.
Okay, the one cool thing about the light, it has a. It's so heavy. It is a USB charging cable, so it's
cool.
Rechargeable. People like rechargeable stuff.
Yeah, people also like losing their iPhone chargers, but we're not going to talk about that. Jared Goff is the current Detroit Lions quarterback. We all know the crazy trade that went down this offseason, trading Matthew Stafford and getting Jared Goff 2 first-round picks and a compensatory pick, it was a great deal. It was I still think the move of the offseason around the league. Having said that, Dennis, when will we know that Jared Goff is or isn't the future quarterback of the Detroit Lions? What's your timeline?
Year one. I mean, like,
do you have a specific game, a date or time? Is there a moment? Is there anything you're looking for that'll tell you know what, we can move forward with him, or you know what, we'll just take the first 2 round picks. We're not doing anything with this guy.
I think the first thing I think about, and probably Holmes and Campbell have talked about in all of their scouts and what they're going to do, is there a world, or is there a way that the Lions go out there and win less than 4 games, and they're in position like one of the top 2 or 3 spots in the draft, and a quarterback sitting there, one of the top 2, that Jared Goff could have played well enough where you say, hey, we're going to go a different way? I don't think so. I mean, do you think that there would be a world where that would happen?
I'll tell you what. I think Lions fans will... first, let me start with the organization before I start with the fans. I think the organization will know by week 4, week 5, if Jared Goff is it. I think they'll know very early on. I think media, fan bases, everybody at home, they'll figure it out by Thanksgiving. That's my date. By Thanksgiving Day, we'll know if Jared Goff is sticking around or if they're going to move on, and I can almost guarantee you they'll be moving on. The Lions aren't going to win a lot of games this year, and it's not fair to Jared Goff either, and I'll tell you why. This is probably the worst wide receiving core I've seen in Detroit in probably 20 years. It is god-awful, unproven. You have nice pieces, St. Rob, potentially Cephas, so you don't even know that. Word out of camp is Cephas can't get any separation, so I don't know what I'm supposed to take away from that. And the best part is Jared Goff has all the time in the world, to throw the ball, and he still can't find any open receivers. I think the right thing to do is to move on from Jared Goff after 2 years. Whether that's sitting a quarterback that you draft next season, I don't mind. But Goff is not the guy, and there's not a single GM out there. There's not a single GM that is willing to risk their job and their head coach's job and their futures because they made a trade for a quarterback that is clearly a bridge quarterback, and they're going to put all their eggs in that basket. It's not going to happen. They ignored the wide receiver. They could have got Elijah Moore. They could have done so many other things in the second round.
Could have re-signed Kenny Galladay.
Could have re-signed Kenny. They had all the options out there. They could have gone out in free agency and gotten some wide receivers. They chose not to for a reason. They're not entertaining the idea that Jared Goff is the future. What they're entertaining is that they're going to have a low pick in this upcoming draft. They're going to take a quarterback, potentially, maybe even the following draft. I'm not sure yet. Either in the next 2 seasons, the Lions will be taking a quarterback, though. That is without a question. And number 2 is they have a later pick, which will probably be the Rams, anywhere between 18 and even 30, 31, 32. We'll see how successful they are.
Huh?
We'll see how successful they are. I mean, if Jared Goff was able to make a Super Bowl with a very similar Rams roster and an upgraded defense now, I'm pretty sure we can all agree Matthew Stafford should get similar, if not better, results. We'll see what happens. I could care less. But what I do know is you have 4 first-round talents you can acquire, one of them being a quarterback in the next 2 seasons. That has division contender written all over it in 2 to 3 years. I think that's their plan. I don't see them sticking to Goff. And we know what Goff is. He's a game manager, a pretty good, I want to say pretty decent arm, not overwhelmingly accurate, turnover machine. He's not mobile. In a mobile quarterback's lead, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. We're moving away from the drop-back typical prototype. Now you have to be able to move. Now, I'm not saying that the Lions have to go in that direction. They're still quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers. But even Aaron Rodgers is mobile. Even Ben Roethlisberger, for as big as he is kind of mobile. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, they're nifty in the pocket. They don't need to run it to the outside. But the point is, Jared Goff's not your guy. There's no way it's their guy. And I don't see it happening. I think by Thanksgiving, everybody will be either bailing on Goff or crying like they did about Matthew Stafford. We got to keep him.
Well, you bring up Matt Stafford, and that's what I look at over the last few years. You go back to 2011, Stafford had his best year. That was a long time ago. And there was a chance you thought, hey, maybe this guy's going to be an elite quarterback, and that's the ticket in the NFL. It's getting to Patrick Mahomes and getting an elite quarterback. That's how you get to the playoffs. That's how you get home field position in the playoffs, and that's how you advance, and that's how you ultimately win a Super Bowl. And we know that the Lions were never able to do that with Matt Stafford for a lot of reasons. So you go back and you say, all right, and I looked at Matt Stafford. I thought that the Lions, if they put all the pieces around Stafford, gave him a running game, gave him the offensive line, gave him some weapons, had that defense, had the coach. You know, they had in 2011 offensively, I thought they had an NFC championship type offense. You know, their defense was terrible. In 2014, they had a top-ranked defense. That was the year they pulled the reins back on Stafford, and that was their best chance, actually, against the Cowboys. The next year, I thought they were going to be pretty good. They brought everybody back except Sue on defense, and they drafted their first 2 picks on offense. They started out 1-7.
But 9-7 is good enough.
Well, the thing about my point, I know I'm taking a long time to get there.
Oh, no,
is
it's
that,
okay. I'm listening.
You know, Stafford, if you put, like, what the Rams have done, they've put everything around him. That's how you're going to get a guy like Matt Stafford, who's, you know, not an elite quarterback. He's not a worst quarterback, not an average. Sometimes he's a little bit better than average. Looks like a top 10 quarterback right now. And the Rams said, we're upgrading going to him. So the Lions, with the issues that they had with Stafford not being able to put the players around him, I have a hard time thinking they've taken a step back for sure. They don't have Kenny Galladay. Now, look at the defense. Look at the lack of playmakers here. I just have a hard time thinking that Jared Goff is going to be able to show enough this year to say, oh, yeah, you know, here's a guy that we look at that can be an average quarterback that we can put playmakers around and take us to the Super Bowl. You said it. You know, he's likely a bridge quarterback. You know, it's stranger things have happened, so you take the shot. You get a lot of picks. He's so motivated. He was a number 1 overall pick. They gave him all that money. He went to the Super Bowl. There was the drama with McVay. And even Peter King, who was out in L.A. this week, I talked about it earlier this week, he said, and you know, he said that this is his perception, that Goff was a pupil to Sean McVay, and now that he's got Matt Stafford, he can really play ball. What I read into that is they think Jared Goff's a big dummy. You know, so there's more motivation. I like Jared Goff.
I don't want to say, I don't want to say he's a dummy. I think there's levels to it. I think Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback, but he's not great. And then you look at Jared Goff, he's a good quarterback. And that's not a bad thing. It's okay to have a good quarterback, but when you're trying to rebuild your franchise, you need a very good to great quarterback. And as much as I can knock Matthew Stafford for his 12 seasons here, he actually was the definition of a franchise quarterback. He was reliable, played almost every game, played hurt, showed up. Did he make a shit ton of bad mistakes? Of course he did. I mean, he played for the Lions, and he wasn't that great. But I have a question for you.
I've got some comments for you.
Okay.
I just see some of the people coming in. Brandon wants a table pound from you. He's waiting for that. He hasn't had one yet, but you can't just pound it just to pound it.
Yeah, no. It has to be authentic.
Kenneth has a 3-14 record who says rebuilding since 57.
Yep.
And as we go down in here, a lot of people saying good afternoon. Rob saying, isn't Galladay already injured? That wouldn't have been a good move. And there you go. So, but in theory, in theory, that was a number 1 wide receiver. And do they have a number 1 wide receiver?
They don't. And they don't even have a number 2. And your hope is that St. Brown develops into a 2. Keyword develops. Develops. They're not there yet. You're not going to have a 1 or 2 for the next 2-3 seasons. What are we doing? Like, I don't understand this. And there's a lot of comments going on about you don't need a mobile quarterback. Tom Brady just won another Super Bowl. Tom Brady is the freaking definition of an outlier. That guy is the greatest quarterback of all time. If you're going to use the GOAT as your as your base, I can't do anything to really argue there. But you have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Justin Herbert is mobile. Jimmy Garoppolo, granted he can't stay healthy, is mobile. Jared Goff, to an extent, was kind of mobile back in L.A., and he hasn't been the same since he's been hurt. Like, you just need a quarterback that can make a few defenders miss. And that's it. You're not looking for a running quarterback. I think the Lamar Jackson thing is kind of over and done with. He needs to develop his passing game or he's not going to last long. But where it leaves Jared Goff is I think he's a bridge quarterback, whether people want to hear it or not. It's the truth. The organization told you he was a bridge quarterback by drafting who they drafted. O-line, immediately addressing the O-line. Getting Penei Sewell, the fact that he dropped was amazing. We can all celebrate it. But drafting Penei Sewell meant, like, we're gonna make sure we have an offensive line that can go anywhere. Road, home, playoff time, Snow, rain, doesn't matter. We have an offensive line that travels everywhere. And then they go take 2 D linemen instead of addressing the wide receiver position. And my favorite part is, what do they do in the 7th round, Dennis? They draft a running back.
Running back, yeah.
When they had already had DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, they still took Justin Jefferson. Just to give one of those. One
Jamar
of those
Jefferson.
solid. Is it Jamar or Justin?
It's not Justin. Is it Justin?
I think it's Jamar. You're right.
All right.
Long story short, the Lions already showed their hand. Jared Goff is the bridge. Now, if he comes out and balls out, and my definition of ball out would be 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns.
What if Stafford?
7 interceptions.
I just thought, what if Stafford was still a quarterback for the Lions right here? Would we be talking about the
Oh,
Lions
we'd be like,
being,
holy shit, this guy's in trouble. He's going to have a
you'd
rough
say,
year.
yeah, he doesn't have Marv Jones. He doesn't have his 2 guys on the outside that he went to last year. He's got a bunch of unproven wide receivers that they've brought in here, and certainly downgrades when you start to talk about the Williams, who they brought in Perriman. You'd say, wow, Cephas they liked as a possession receiver, but nobody's talking about him being a legit
You brought
one.
up Matthew Stafford. What did Matthew Stafford actually deliver to Detroit? Honestly. He had Calvin Johnson. He had Golden Tate. He had Nate Burleson.
He delivered 2 playoffs.
He had
3 playoffs.
He had Reggie Bush.
Couple
No,
playoff
and what I mean by delivered is, like, did he make his teammates X amount better around him? No, he did not.
A little bit.
I don't
Some
think...
of those years, I think he did. Not every year. Like, some of the years I thought he was part of the problem, but 2011,
I don't ever want to put
he did.
everything on the guy. Obviously, he played for the Detroit Lions. That's a very tough problem in and of itself. But we don't look at Matthew Stafford as a guy where as long as you have him, like, I'll figure out the rest. Like, I got my guy, and I can figure out the rest. Like, I can say that about 7, 8 quarterbacks right now in the NFL. Stafford is definitely not one of them. Like, I'd rather take a D tackle, a running back, hell, even a fucking wide receiver over Matthew Stafford to start my team. Like, and that's where I'm going with this expectation for Goff. You kind of downgraded at quarterback. You downgraded across the board
you for sure
offensive.
downgraded.
Like, what's a great year for Jared Goff? I think 3,500 yards, 24, 25 touchdowns, and he throws fewer than 7 picks. Anything more than that, he's the same goddamn quarterback that's not going to take you anywhere. And I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, I think you and I are looking at this a lot alike. Like, it would be nice, a change of scenery, a guy that, 3 years ago operated the #1 offense in the NFL. But he had a lot of pieces around him. He doesn't have those pieces here. To ask a guy to come here and, okay, he's playing ticked off. He's been banished here to Detroit to step up and say, hey, I'm going to be like an elite quarterback without the players around me, and I'm going to put it all on my shoulders. I mean, like, that's just asking too much. It is. If you're a Lions fan, you're sitting out here. You can like Jared Goff. I like Jared Goff. And you can hope that he goes out there and the Lions develop. You see an offensive line and you see DeAndre Swift and you see Hawkinson take a next step, and they find with all these different wideouts that they have. You mentioned St. Brown. Maybe by the middle of the season, you're saying, hey, this guy was a steal. Those are the kind of things you want to see. But I don't think it's translating in the wins, and that's going to be the difficult part for Jared Goff. I mean, how can you take a guy if you feel like you end up – Vegas has the Lions winning 5 games. I think they're going to win 6. But there's also a way that they can go on the short side of that, end up with 3 or 4. And if you're sitting there with Spencer Rattler staring you in the face, the Oklahoma quarterback, or
Potentially another Kyler Murray.
Sam Howell at North Carolina, a little shorter, but right now they're
neck and neck right
today,
now for the top quarterback in the draft.
If we're drafting today, but there might be another guy in there. The Lions are likely, if I had to put my money down, if the Lions had a top 3 or 4 pick, I would put my money down on them taking a quarterback right now.
To wrap this up, you have to understand, this is across the board, across the league. If your quarterback goes down, how many teams are equipped, honestly, in the NFL? How many teams are equipped to lose their starting quarterback? How many? Nobody. Even if you have
Bears,
a good...
maybe you can make a case for, because they have Nick Foles, who's good for 3 or 4 games, but you're talking about lose for the entire season?
Where I'm going with that is, we have this fantasy.
San Francisco?
Well, just across the board, as Lions fans, well, what was the Lions' record without Matthew Stafford? You know what? Like, I'm pretty sure if I take away the franchise quarterback from the team, that's probably going to hurt their chances of winning football games. Like, it's common sense. You can't use that as an argument to, well, Stafford, he tried his best. Like, he can't carry everything. Guys, he was a good quarterback. I think actually you can put him in the very good range, but you can't put him anywhere near great. Nowhere near. Having said that, I think that's enough Stafford talk. We can move on to more positive and great things like Cade Cunningham and what we think about him coming up next after the break. But before we go, I got to give a shout out to MyBookie. MyBookie, guys, I have done nothing but given away free money, honestly. Let's be real with each other. I've given away free money for the last 20 weeks. And I'm gonna start trying to do so more often as we go. But regardless, visit mybookie.com. Sign up using promo code Woodward. And listen to me when I give my picks. I'm pretty damn right almost all the time. Having said that, we'll see you right after the break to discuss some Detroit Pistons and Cade Cunningham talk.
Tony is a third-generation logger that has a simple, practical approach to life and work. That's why his Coast DX342 knife is perfect for him. The stainless steel blade is rust-resistant and made for all-weather use. And the double roll-lock safety ensures that it will never inadvertently close when he doesn't want it to. That's why Coast is trusted tough.
Fish is just talking so much shit. My God. All right, listen. Cade Cunningham, obviously the #1 overall pick this year. The Detroit Pistons landed him. A huge change in fortune for the franchise. But I want your take and your opinion on who you would compare Cade Cunningham to as a prospect. And as you can see, I think the consensus across the league right now has been Luka Doncic. And I'll let you start, but I think we can both agree Luka kind of makes sense. Just off the bat, based off of limited athleticism, but the ability to run the pick and roll, the ability to score basically whenever they want to. I mean,
Luka's a superstar, so having a comparison, if your comp is Luka Doncic, I'm here for that. I mean, I love it. That'd be great. I mean, if you're telling me, like, Doncic, over the last 2 years, I've sat there and watched the Mavs, and I've just been like, the range that he has, just everything. Like, one-man show. If Cade Cunningham is anywhere close to Doncic, we're going to be sitting around here. It is awesome. I mean, that is paid in full. That's everything that you want. Yeah, he's got it's like he can get a shot. When I'm watching Doncic, a lot of times you're sitting there, you're like, okay, the guy's right up on him. How is he just lulling him to sleep with this dribble? And that's just, how is he able to get the shot off with his step back? But you do see that Cade Cunningham does have that in his arsenal. He has that type of game. And so I love that comparison. I hope it's the one. I've seen it left and right, but it's not my favorite one myself from watching him this year.
What would be your ideal comparison for Cade?
Well, I love watching Doncic here, so let's roll and just see that one. I don't splash.
Well, they're both very similar. Willing rebounders, willing passers, can run the pick and roll, can score whenever they want to. I think it's a great comparison.
You know what? I'm
if
not
he turns out to be
here.
Luka, that's...
Yeah,
Pistons fans, congratulations.
I want it to happen. I don't want to shout you down and tell you don't know what you're talking about or anything else. That's what I would love for it to be. Before I give you my comparison, I was shocked looking at the Pistons Summer League roster. You know what shocked me? Was the size of Cade Cunningham, because 6'8". I looked up his Wikipedia. I looked at NBA.com. They all have him at 6'8". I think there's somebody working with the Detroit Pistons just had a typo. They put him down at, what did they put him? Not down at 5'8", but they put him at 6'6". Did he get a haircut or something? Like, that's a pretty substantial difference here. I'm going to make a big deal about that.
I mean, that's what everybody does. When you're a prospect in high school, you go to your head coach and he asks you, how tall are you? And you'll tell him, well, I'm 5'9", coach. He's like, all right, 5'11", great. And on to the next one. Oh, coach, I'm 5'8", all right, 6 foot it is. Like, that's just what they do. They add 15 pounds, 2 inches to everybody.
Okay, so if that's the case, I'll buy that. You're right. They do that and say they're taller and everything.
I don't think even if Cade's 6'6", Kobe was what, 6'4 and a half, 6'5", 6'6"?
No, Kobe was taller than that.
Kobe, I'm pretty sure Kobe was 6'6".
6'7" at least. I'll go 6'6".
6'6".
Okay.
Yeah, so 6'6". I mean, you don't anything above 6'4" in today's NBA, you're kind of fine. You're not going to get your shot blocked relatively crazy. He's got a good wingspan. The way he creates separation before shooting, similar to Doncic, he's not going to have issues scoring.
Well, he's got a pterodactyl wingspan. I mean, that's the thing. It's 7'1". You have some spots. So, but if the Pistons come out and they're measuring him up and it comes out and said, well, 6'6" and a 6'8" wingspan or 6'9" wingspan. It's like, wait a second. We were talking about a 7'1" pterodactyl, 6'8". Now we're talking 6'6" and 6'9" wingspan. But all right, that was just something if I'm nitpicking, and I am a little bit, just on the roster, it could have been a typo.
I had two different guys I spun back and forth with in regards to who I would compare Cade to. And the first one that came to mind, obviously, was Luka, just because of the build and the way they're so similar, and the way they move, the way they play. You're not gonna be thrown up out of your chair by Cade Cunningham's athleticism. You're just not. But he does those little things really well. He runs the pick and roll so well, and his decision making is amazing. But I'm actually gonna take I'm gonna take a note out of Troy Weaver. I'm gonna compare him actually to a young Larry Bird coming out of college, and may not be the shooter, but I'm going to compare him intangible-wise to Larry Bird, the mental aspect of the game, ability to read the game, understand the game. I think he's more capable of a defender than Doncic is immediately, and that's him coming in year one. I think he has all the mental capacity and intangibles to be A1 alpha that the Detroit Pistons have so desperately needed in the last 20, 30 years. What's up, Fish? You were waving to me. God damn it, Fish. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I hope that Cade Cunningham is Doncic and, Larry Bird 2.0, because we're talking about one of the greatest players of all time, of course, in Bird, top 10 player of all time, and Doncic, clearly a superstar right now, one of the top 10 players. There wasn't the consensus from NBA people saying that, Cunningham just can't miss. Like, when Anthony Davis was coming out or LeBron was coming out, like, oh, these guys are automatic superstars.
Have you heard the Grant Hill comparisons? Because I have, but I don't agree with them.
I don't either.
Grant Hill was out of the gym athletic. He was LeBron James before LeBron James. He was that dynamic. It wasn't even close.
Me this year, I thought the Big Ten was the most entertaining conference to watch. It ended up not playing out that way in the NCAA tournament. The Pac-12 was a lot better than I thought, and I didn't watch too much of them, but I watched the Big Ten every night. It was great. And then when I wasn't watching the Big Ten, they played Oklahoma State games. So you're able to watch a lot of Cade Cunningham this year if you're a college basketball fan. And about midway through the season, I watch, and I haven't heard many people give the comparison, but I think that the Celtics, Jason Tatum, with a 7-foot reach, that's my comparison.
I hope
he's a little bit better than Tatum.
I hope he's not Tatum.
Tatum's not a superstar right now, but the way he sets it up with the dribble, similar type size, a little bit longer of a reach here. That's my comp.
I read a draft profile on Cade Cunningham, and one of the people that they compared him to was Jason Tatum, and it made a lot of sense. But it really pissed me off though, because I could not imagine the number 1 overall pick turning out to be Jason Tatum. Granted, the guy's in year 6 now. He still has time to develop into a superstar, but no, not
He's pretty close to a superstar.
Yeah, he's had flashes of superstar moments. We'll see. We've waited till year 8, year 7 for Giannis to develop into a superstar, so we can have that same patience for Jason Tatum. But I won't be mad. As long as he's better than Jason Tatum, I think that's a great ceiling for Cade. The next question I want to ask you about Cade is, you're looking at a Detroit Pistons team that has not just 1, not 2, but almost 3 to 4 capable ball handlers up and down the court, 48 minutes a game. It's not even close. You have Jeremy Grant, Killian Hayes. Even Sadiq Bey can ball handle. You have bigs that can handle. You have you have Olynyk now on the team. There's so many able ball handlers on the team. How do you think Dwayne Casey handles ball distribution and really ball usage between the guards this season?
Yeah, I think that whoever gets it goes. I think you can give it to Killian Hayes, and you can be have a true point guard. And the one thing, if I've seen anything from Killian Hayes, if he's got one skill right now that you would say is getting close to be above average in the NBA, it's his passing ability. And so having him with the ball in his hand in the open floor, I think that's the way you want to start out. But that is a luxury of having a guy like Cunningham. He's a point guard. He doesn't have to bring it up, though. You can put him out there on the wing. He can play that positionless game. And that's the part here. So those are the two guys that I would look for.
Fair enough.
Like Grant, you want him down on the wing because he's the scorer. He's still going to be the guy that's taking the most shots.
Ideally, he's not the guy that's taking the most shots.
You don't think so?
No, I don't want to see Jeremy Grant fake all-star numbers that he put up last year that resulted in 0 winning basketball. I think he's a good fit. I think he's got to be he's a number 2 option for the team right now, but on a good team, he should be the number 3. He's not a 1, he's not a 2.
The thing I'm expecting about you, so you think Cunningham's going to be the leading scorer?
I think walking into it's not about who's the leading scorer, it's who...
Or who's taking the most shots?
Who's probably going to lead the team in scoring? You could imagine Jeremy Grant, veteran, just like Blake and Derrick Rose did last year before they left. Like, they were Super Bowl usage, but I want to see Cade have the ball. I want to see Killian distribute. I want to see Sadiq Bey put up 14, 15 a game. So I'm not looking forward to Jeremy Grant if he's going to put up 23, 24 points a game. What's up, Fish?
Breaking news, surprise, surprise, Kawhi Leonard has re-signed with the Quippers.
That's such a bad deal. I wouldn't have never even offered him a contract when he opted out.
$35 million to rehab for
Torn
a year?
ACL? Are you serious? This is why the Clippers are the NFL's version of the Detroit, or the NBA's version of the Detroit Lions. The Clippers are...
The Nets did it with Durant, and it worked out
Kevin
for them.
Durant, though.
Yeah, well, Kawhi's...
Kawhi, history of injuries. Kevin Durant, prior to the Achilles, none. I'd be more cautious.
Yeah, I like, but... the Clippers, they're in a tight spot.
Yeah, they
Like,
have
what
nothing
else
to
are they
look
gonna
forward
do?
to if they don't sign him, to be
They
fair.
don't. To go back watching Cunningham this year many times, watching Oklahoma State, I'd flip on to the first quarter or first half, sorry, and I'm watching him like Cunningham's not shooting. Cunningham's just passing the ball. Cunningham doesn't have any points at the half. I mean, is this guy really the player that everybody's talking about being the first overall pick? And then he'd get into the second half, and the announcers would say, "Oh, this is Cade Cunningham's game. If you haven't watched him, he lets the game come to him, gets all of his teammates involved, and then he looks for his spot."
And he dominates the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game.
And he would take all of the big shots. And so, yeah, I think Grant, which is what I think the best case scenario is Grant is the volume guy. He is taking the most shots. But when it gets down to the fourth quarter, and it's the one thing about the Pistons that were a lot of fun. We all said it. It's like, yeah, it was awesome. They would stay in the game. It'd be a one-possession game to 2 minutes, and then they would blow it. This year, the difference, can Cunningham make some of those plays? And Jeremy Grant make some of those plays? Well, that's going to be the fun part to see, and if Cunningham's going to be like that. Back in the day, it was the one thing that you watched with when Isaiah came out of Indiana. Isaiah could score right away, but then Isaiah would take a back seat. They would always go down to James Edwards. And then it was like, all right, well, let's see if Joe's hot. Well, let's now bring in Vinny to see if he's got it. And then if those things weren't going, then Isaiah would go back and say, okay, it's time for me to score. Hopefully Cade.
I think Cade's got to develop into that.
Like that.
I think he needs to do what LaMelo Ball did in Charlotte. First few games,
Showtime?
First few months, like, all right, Terry Rozier, that's fine. Like, you want to be a jackass and take all the shots. That's cool, but hey, motherfucker, I can put up 30, 12, and 15 if I want every fucking night if you just back the hell off. And that's the attitude I'd like Cade to show this year.
Well, if we're talking about what's the perfect way to do it, I would take that. I would also take, hopefully, like the Pistons did back in the day, the bad boy Pistons, where they started out, they got to the playoffs, and then they just kept taking those steps. It was the Celtics, then they beat the Celtics, and then, they didn't because Isaiah threw the ball away. But then they got to the Lakers, and then they had to keep moving up the ladder, and they had to keep every year, and I would like to see that from the Pistons. Get into that play-in game. I know you think they can be a little higher, the ceiling.
I think
this next year, but then the following year, just keep, I
want to see improvement. I want to see growth, and if the team is a play-in team, I'm not going to cry at the end of the year. Let's see how the team improves. I want to see the prospects get better. We'll see what the hell they're going to do with Siku. But when we come back from the break, we are going to talk about a little fantasy football. My God, let me tell you how forward I am, how excited, and how I've been looking forward to fantasy football, I think, for 6 months now.
You're going to take
It's
Jared
a disease.
Goff,
it's an addiction. It's an addiction. I will definitely take Jared Goff, and then I will follow that up with shooting myself and burying myself because I don't deserve to be alive taking Jared Goff #1 overall. Having said that, we will see you guys after the break.
Do you know why realtors love using Hall Financial as a lender? Because of our commitment to speed and service. We have nearly 4,000 5-star reviews already. Call today, 248-308-5000, or go to callhallfirst.com.
Welcome back to The Hook. Your hosts, Adham and Dennis Fithian, for today. Art Fish, thanks so much for joining us, and everybody at home. All right, fantasy football talk. Before we get into this, Art mentioned he had a question for me, so I'm going to let Art open it up and ask the question he had. Go ahead, Art.
I know that I usually ask a lot of stupid questions, but I asked this
question. That is
correct. Yes, thank you. I asked this question earlier on Bell and Blank Midday Show, whatever the hell we're calling it nowadays. I said, if I was to pay Adham $50 to pick my players for fantasy football, is that considered cheating? I need to know.
I don't consider it cheating, no.
Okay.
Who would know?
I don't either.
Who would know?
Well, now a whole bunch of people know because I opened my mouth up.
Well, whose fault is that? You could have just came to me on the side.
But, like, if I had a draft coming up and I was like, listen, I like AJ Green because...
Well, okay, let's say you had a draft coming up.
Yeah.
Do you do a draft party where you guys, like, for example, in the league I play in, we all have a nice big dinner at the house, we barbecue?
You mean the league that we play in because I'm joining with you?
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
All right. But
this league, you have to buy in, Art. It's $500 to buy in.
$500?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I pick players based on cannabis names, like AJ Green. He's green like marijuana. I pick him, and he did shit for me. But my thing is it's like...
We got an opening in art. We've got an opening in our league if you want to jump on in.
See, yeah, but you just want to smash me. You know that I suck. But if
look, I don't want to call you out, Art.
Yeah.
But didn't we make a trade last season in the Woodward Sports Fantasy League?
We did. What was the trade?
Do you remember the trade?
No, I don't.
You fucking idiot.
I don't remember.
I finessed the whole league and it caused problems. I did make the final, but I did lose, so I guess that's good karma.
Yeah,
I got
cheating.
Patrick.
Oh, go ahead,
I got Patrick Mahomes from Art.
Yeah, that was
for Matt Ryan.
That was not my.
For Matt Ryan, and George Kittle, who was on injured reserve.
I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I'm like an NFL expert now.
That is cheating. That's where if you're the commissioner, you look in there and you say
finessing the league.
That is cheating.
Yeah,
but
that was cheating.
Yeah, that's cheating.
That's where you need a commissioner. You say, okay, you step in and say,
well,
there's,
our commissioner
there's
was
collusion
sick
going on. This is not happening. This is a bogus trade. Nobody would make that deal. These guys
in my league, to be fair,
in cahoots.
It's by vote. You have to have majority
real
vote.
Quick, before you guys get into a topic, what is the point? Like last year, we did the WSN one for no money.
Well,
like we gotta put.
We had just launched the network, and we weren't trying to, make it. It wasn't about that. It was about having fun. It was about having fun, and that's why a trade like that would go in that kind of a league. But like in my league, where there's $500 a pop for each person, you're talking $6,000 prize pool. So it is definitely a lot to think about. Art.
Just a straight up the redraft. Auction draft or
it's snake draft.
Snake draft. So
and
redraft. Yep.
At the end of the season, first place wins a shit ton. Second place wins a shit ton. Third place gets their investment back. That's it.
Damn.
And then last place has to do something ridiculous.
And may I ask, what is considered a shit ton? Like, what is first place get?
Well, if there's 10, 12 guys in,
you're talking anywhere from,
yeah.
I think it was $4,000 last year.
Holy.
Yeah.
So could I join it, pay the $500, and have you do my? Well, no, that would be stupid.
That's gonna no. I'm trying to get my name on the trophy that we engrave every year. So sorry. Anyways, fantasy football talk. There's 2 consensus players that are on the Detroit Lions that are gonna get taken in every league. It's gonna happen. They're gonna get drafted. DeAndre Swift, Jared Goff. No, whoa. I fucked that one up. DeAndre Swift.
Did you do that on purpose?
I've been thinking about Jared Goff too goddamn much because we talked about him. But no, DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson, obviously. Outside of these 2, if you're drafting, are you taking anybody outside of those 2 on the Detroit Lions? And if they are, who are they and why?
Well, if it was a 16-team draft...
No, standard 12. Let's just standard 12 PPR, something like super common sense. Like.
Well, the part about it, even like if you think the Lions are going to be one of the worst offenses in the league, I think that's going to be the case. And, they're going to be run-heavy. I think that's going to be the case, of course. But there's still... And Hawkinson's going to get all the targets. There still has to be one of those receivers that are going to be fantasy relevant. So if you have the last pick... taking a shot on a Lions wide receiver. One thing that's going to be fun about these 3 exhibition games, we're able to go out there and watch some of these guys go through. Is it Amon-Ra St. Brown? If he shows some flashes, I could see taking him. But if that draft was right now and it was here today, I think I would pull I would put the sticker up on the board for Tyrell Williams. I mean, he's had 4, 5, 6, 7 almost consecutively 650 yards, 6-7 touchdowns, and him being the number one guy, the veteran going in here. I know he missed last year with the shoulder injury, but he's a big target. And now that he is at least seemingly going to be the number one guy going in there and has the size, I would say it would be Williams here today.
Outside of Swift and Hawk, I think the consensus one that needs to happen is Jamal Williams. Because on the off chance that, one, they're going to split carries. It's going to be a 1 and 2 combination this year workload for the two backs. But DeAndre Swift gets hurt, which he's proven he can get.
He's hurt right now.
Jamal Williams becomes a prime A1 starter, and you get him in round 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, that is a steal. I think Jamal Williams, backup running backs are so important in these kind of leagues. For me, it's Jamal Williams. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you can probably pick up maybe week 7, week 8 before he explodes. I think he'll have a good end of the season by the time Tyrell Williams is hurt. So we'll see. Hawk is getting all the attention. I'm going to stay away from him this year. I'll give away my hand there. I'm not drafting TJ Hawkinson, even if he's available in the, let's say, early 3rd round. Not interested.
Because you're a Lions hater, or you?
Yeah.
No. It's coverage. The guy is going to get double teamed. He is going to be the prime focus for every team playing the Detroit Lions this season. I'm not gonna. Maybe. I don't want to rule it out. I don't want to be a hypocrite and then draft him because he was available really late and I got a steal. But I think he'll be a top 5 fantasy tight end option again this year. But outside of Jamal Williams, I don't think there's anybody. I wouldn't draft. I'd rather have Justin Fields on the bench getting me 0 points and starting for me instead of Jared Goff getting me negative 17 points, which is probably what he'll do a few times this year.
Oh, my God.
It's not, oh, my God. Look who he's throwing to.
Have a little bit of faith in your life.
I don't. How am I supposed to have faith? Give me one reason.
Have you seen the guy?
Yes.
Have you seen him?
Yeah. He threw 4 pick sixes in his first day of fucking training camp.
You weren't there.
It was reported by who?
Yeah,
by
fake
who?
news.
Fake news? Okay. Okay. Listen.
But yeah, let me ask you guys something. At training camp, you're training, you're practicing, okay? That's
yeah, and you're practicing how to throw the ball to the other team. I love it.
Oh God. That's the first person I'm drafting is Goff.
Yeah. You fucking idiots take Goff. I wouldn't know if I would laugh or feel bad for you.
What if Goff goes off like he did for the Rams?
Look, I just gave one. It's not gonna happen. The guy had Sean McVay, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Everett at tight end, a running game, and Todd Gurley. You guys are out of your minds.
Well, Matthew Stafford, no to 50 points per game.
Matthew Stafford, for all the shit I will give him, probably has the greatest opportunity of his entire career to not only win an MVP, not only win a playoff game, but potentially reach a Super Bowl. The Rams won a playoff game last year without a quarterback and a guy whose thumb was broken. And then their defense, Aaron Donald, best fucking defensive player in the last 20 years, hands down.
Now let me ask you, would it be smart to pick the Lions defense?
You don't pick, you know what, actually? No. I will say, if you have a bye week with one of your defenses throughout the season, if the Lions are available, I would actually take them. I would consider it, depending on the matchup. Okay. I think if you get them, let's say, in Denver, against the Eagles, if that's where your bye week falls for your starting defense, you definitely take the Lions. I think they'll be way better this year. I think they'll make more turnovers, but that's just because of how bad they were last season. All right, enough fantasy football talk. we have to revisit a discussion we had yesterday about Jim Harbaugh and the University of Michigan, their program in general, their direction, where they were in the past prior to Harbaugh, what he's done in the 7 years. And we're going to get to that right after this break.
You don't fumble the ball at work. Hey, Drake Bell, Sean Baligian. See you guys next weekend.
Thanks, mate. Oh, Bell's soft. Wait till it comes to New Zealand. Pour that out.
Northwestern Tech, start a new career in an industry that's always essential, the heating and cooling industry. Learn more today by visiting northwesterntech.edu.
Fish, if you were ever to leave us and make me cry and really ruin my life, if you were to ever leave, would you consider working at Northwestern Tech?
Sure. Yes.
Would pursuing a career there, would that be an option for you? Attend their HVAC program and become a hands-on guy?
Would it be an option? Yes. Would it be? Sure. I can't think of the words.
Right.
Yes. Sure.
I dig it.
Fish,
Dennis,
can you take your first step in doing that and crank up the AC a little bit here, or is that not something?
Oh, we don't speak about AC here.
Oh,
Nobody
okay.
say a word. I will fire everybody. Having said that,
Nobody told me that.
Dennis, you can lead this one off. I know you wanted to talk about it, so I'll let you open up the topic.
Well, after driving home last night, I was thinking, it was fun working with Adham, and Nick was in here yesterday, and the guys, Art and Fish. It was all fun, but I kept going back to the Michigan topic that we had, and I was like, well, what was Adam's point there? And I thought about it, and you were like, Michigan, this is what you said. Michigan isn't a powerhouse. Their fans think they are a powerhouse. And Jim Harbaugh really is the best that Michigan's going to do. So those are the 2 points that you had. Would you agree with those were your points?
Yep.
All right.
I think, on Harbaugh, I agree that Michigan is not a powerhouse.
Right.
Can we agree that Michigan is not a powerhouse football team?
I agree that
I think they're a powerhouse brand.
Right.
But they're not a powerhouse football team. Regarding Jim Harbaugh, I think he's the best you have and you've had in a while. And I also think, I'm not sure what you replace him with. Because Michigan love to discuss, we need a Michigan man, and that's why they got rid of Rich Rod and Brady Hoke and all this bullshit. So now that you have your Michigan man, are you gonna go off of that train? I don't believe Michigan are, and again, I don't see why they would. And we can talk about him losing to Ohio State, something every Michigan coach loves to do in the last 30 years. But I want you to look at Michigan's record going into the Ohio State game. 2 times which they had an opportunity, 1 to represent the Big Ten in the conference title game, and then 2 potentially becoming a college football playoff team. Michigan walked in 9-2 the first year under with Harbaugh, then 10-1 into the Ohio State game, ranked number 3 in the nation. And then they were 8-3, a down year, ranked I believe 15 at the time. And then 10-1 the following year, entering Ohio State. And they were the number 2 team in the nation. And then, prior to the pandemic, they walked in 9-2. And the only reason, again, I don't understand how Michigan fans are frustrated. You're walking into the most important game of every single season with an opportunity to win a Big Ten title, the opportunity to go to the college football playoff. I think that is really good, considering what Michigan has been prior to Jim Harbaugh. And if you could pull up the graphic from yesterday regarding the overall records over the last 7 years, Harbaugh 51-22, and then in his 7 years, and then 47-41, and that includes the 11-2 year under Brady Hoke. My point is, I don't understand the criticism of Jim Harbaugh. I'm not on that campsite yet, and I want to be there because I think you need to beat your rivals. You can't lose to Michigan State with a Kroger cashier and Rocky Lombardi as your quarterback. You can't lose that game. You can't lose to Indiana. You can't lose to Wisconsin. Can't keep losing to Northwestern. I'm in the camp of I can see the criticisms, but I'm also a realist. What were you before? This guy came in and actually made you kind of relevant, kind of got you into the top 5, top 3 in recruiting classes for a short stretch of time, and he went up against Urban Meyer, the 3rd, you can put him 2nd, greatest college coach of all time. That's where I get lost. Is I'm a willing defender of Harbaugh based on what he's done, but I'm also a willing criticizer, considering he hasn't gotten it done against the big teams. He hasn't gotten it done when it's mattered. So I'm kind of stuck being pulled in both directions because, to be fair, he does deserve criticism. But you kind of look at the last 7 years of Michigan football prior to Jim Harbaugh. It ain't all that fucking pretty.
Well, that's the one part that you're pulling out of the Michigan football fans' handbook that they use a lot. If you're looking at the previous 7 years, if you're looking at Rich Rodriguez, and if you're using Brady Hoke, then yeah, Jim Harbaugh is great or very good. And I think a lot of it, if Michigan fans are scared to go back, geez, and there's not somebody that should, when Jim Harbaugh was out there, it was like, wow, Jim Harbaugh's a grand slam. Everybody agreed about that. There's not the next Jim Harbaugh out there. Maybe it's Matt Campbell, but you could say, I don't know, I'm not 100%.
Didn't he just re-sign, though?
He did, but there's a buyout there. I mean, it could happen. It could happen, but I'm not sitting here like that would have been the direction I would have gone last year, but I'm not sitting here for sure saying, oh, Matt Campbell, man, that just looked like a home run hire.
Yeah.
A lot of times you have to, and for Michigan, you have to have that. I think
it's not like a Dabo Sweeney, a Les Miles back in his prime. It's not like they're in the market available. They just left the school and they're looking for an opportunity, or they took a year off, a sabbatical, and oh my goodness, like it's lined up for us. We can get this guy. Like, where is that guy for Michigan? If somebody finds it for me, I am willing to step back and be like, all right, Michigan needs to go in a new direction. But you know what? I just read it off.
That's one part. They need to find they need to have a successor out there that at least you can say, okay, this is the direction.
They need to be looking. I will say that. They do need to be looking because time is running out for Jim Harbaugh. He can't keep the pandemic year was unfortunate. 2-4, they looked like garbage. I don't want to make excuses for them, but I'm going to remind you of the 5 seasons prior to the pandemic year. Entering the Ohio State game, 9-2. 10-1, ranked number 3 in the country, 8-3 in the down season, followed up with another 10-1 season, where they entered as the second-ranked team in the nation. If they would have lost that game, let's say by a field goal, a last-second field goal, they'd probably get into the college football playoff. But they lost by 11. I believe that was a 31-20 game that they lost. And then they followed up the next season, 9-2, entering the Ohio State game with a chance to win the Big Ten. And
they gave up 62 points.
They lost, exactly. Like they got demolished. So, again, I've seen what Michigan coaches have done in the last 20 years. It's not pretty. And Harbaugh is falling into that same pattern. Like, oh, can't be Ohio State. We lose stupid games to Michigan State. It takes us off the railroad tracks for the whole season. It's the same thing with Michigan. And that's where the self-entitlement of Michigan needs to be better. We're Michigan. Fuck you. You haven't been relevant for 24 freaking years.
Well, for the first 5 years of Harbaugh's tenure after the season, there were a lot of people that were ready to, ship him out. And I asked myself, and then I would tell people, say, look, I still feel like, he's the best guy for the job. I know that he hasn't been able to get it done at quarterback, but he is somebody, if there's one guy that has the experience, and you would think that he would be able to get that done with the QB. You would also think that, they said, well, he doesn't take Ohio State seriously enough. I mean, here's the guy, if there's one person, a Michigan man, who would know
how important that game is.
He does know how important it is. So up to last year, I told everybody that if I was making the call, I still would have brought him back. But the part about the QBs, he had 2 guys there that were homegrown, and, he had gone the direction of trying to bring Shea Patterson, a 5-star, in, and he tried some different things at the quarterback position, and it just kept snake eyes, and then finally it's like, all right, he's going to have his guys, and he ran Peters off, like he wouldn't play him.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. If I was to explain and identify Michigan football, tell me if I'm wrong. In your face, run the ball, run like smash mouth, ground and pound football. Is that relevant today?
Well, I think 3 years ago, the direction, and I'll give Jim Harbaugh credit for this, he went out and he got Josh Gaddis, and he said, look, I'm giving you the keys to the offense. I remember asking Josh Gaddis, I came up to him and said, hey, Josh, Dennis Fithian, are you really calling the play? He looked at, he was pissed. He said, you really think, Jim Harbaugh gave me his word that I'd be able to call the plays. This is my offense. I took him at his word. Do I think Jim's getting in there a little bit and, saying, hey, can we sprinkle some of this in? Well, I do think there's some of that, but I think this is Josh Gaddis' offense.
Well, I bring that up for a reason.
Space.
I bring that up for a reason. I think that the Josh Gaddis hire was probably one of the best moments during Jim Harbaugh's tenure prior to everything that's happened since. But the problem is the recruiting hasn't changed. You're still getting these guys that are just not capable of running a spread offense. And you don't have the quarterback to do it. You don't have the running backs. You don't have the wide receivers. Although I think their wide receiver pool is actually pretty talented.
Well, I think
talented.
I think you've hit on something very key. If I could boil it down really quick, the 2016 game, the double overtime game, things were looking generally pretty good for Michigan. They finally got into that game, and they were a play away.
And a bogus fourth down call.
Right.
You look back at the Michigan State punt that went backwards, and they lost.
That was the first year, but in 2016 they were an inch or two away. But since then,
it's been a huge decline. I
it's
agree.
been down, and the skill positions in particular, Michigan doesn't get skill position players drafted at all.
Yep.
And that's
They
that's
get
an
defensive
issue.
players drafted. They
Some.
get a positional, grinding. Again,
But
the recruiting.
they're bringing in guys. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who plays for the Browns now. That guy was a 5-star. Like Shea Patterson was a 5-star. Like they're getting guys that are looked at as the top players in the country. They're not developing them. You look at Wisconsin, what they've done in recruiting. They don't get top 25 classes. They get like top 35 classes. They're coming in. I don't play Ohio State in the same division, but you know what? They've got a system that they're running, and they're having success with that. And that's the thing. I thought going into this year it was like, all right, Jim's going to make a big decision here. He's got Dylan McCaffrey, who I would have chose, or Joe Milton, and he went with Joe Milton. And Joe Milton was a bust.
Milton was a bust. We'll see how he does in Tennessee. My problem with Dylan McCaffrey was the injury history. I think that played a huge factor into Jim Harbaugh's decision. Having said that, though, again, I'll make it so clear. I still think Jim Harbaugh is the guy for Michigan, given his situation and the talent pool. Like who is Michigan bringing in that is going to change the landscape? Because what happened when Jim Harbaugh announced he was coming home and he was going to be the head coach at Michigan? Everybody wanted to play in Michigan. National media craved. Oh my goodness, Michigan football.
They always do a good job recruiting, though, but they're not developing them.
But this is where this is where I'm going with it. Is how big of a fall off is the recruiting going to be?
I don't think
if Jim
much.
Harbaugh leaves.
I don't think
if it isn't much, then you go find yourself a Campbell. You go find yourself a developer, and then I think you'll be better off than what you're getting from right now from Jim Harbaugh, because he's proven he hasn't been able to develop the run game. He hasn't been able to develop a quarterback. Get the quarterback once. Get it right one time. In your 6 years, you're probably playing in a college football playoff, and you probably won a Big Ten title. Something the team hasn't done since, 03, 04?
Right, and I just look at some of the rivals here. I looked at what Mark D'Antonio was able to do over the years. I mean, he was bringing guys in that were 2-stars. They weren't even listed as, Darquez Denard, 336
Kirk Cousins.
corner out there. And these guys are getting drafted in the first round. I'm going to say I'm tired of Michigan bringing in all these 5-stars and, them not materializing, but a lot of that – and Michigan fans, they buy into it every year. It's like, we need the talent to compete, and Jim's bringing in the talent. And then they get in here, and they're 5-stars, but they're not even getting drafted. Give me a coach, and it's a chicken and egg thing a little bit, but give me a coach that can develop guys in college. And we saw D'Antonio do it. We've seen the Wisconsin program.
Ohio State clearly a product of NFL talent.
Ohio State's doing both. They're getting great talent, and they're developing.
But
that's what you want.
Before we wrap this up,
I don't know if we're getting anywhere.
You know what Michigan does? They do one thing very well, and they do get NFL defensive talent drafted. That's something he has done in his 7 years. So I think offensive side of the ball, they need to really step up their recruiting and their development, especially at the quarterback position.
And I think the one thing they do is that, the brand that you talked about, that's really important. That's still, the stadium, the tradition, it's going to be 110,000. The people are still, as much as you might be upset about Harbaugh, they go out and have a great September, and that's really just beating 2 MAC teams in Washington and that night game. And the optimism, how it's going to be.
Through the roof.
It will be, and people
this
will
could
be
be
back,
the year.
and and there'll be the detractors.
But they have such a difficult schedule. They open up October away to Wisconsin, away to Nebraska.
Yeah, well, they can beat Nebraska.
Yeah, we said that about Indiana. Said that about Michigan State.
What you think they're going to have a below 500 record?
No. I want to say I think a successful season for Harbaugh has got to be they got to walk into Ohio State 8-3, and whether or not they win, I could care less. I don't think they're going to win, and I think they got to win a bowl game because he's 1-4 in bowl games. That's another factor.
Yeah, well, I think they're going 8-4, so we're not so far away.
Okay.
But they have to beat Michigan State. They can't lose to Michigan State.
No, they can't lose to Mel Tucker. You can't. If he loses to Michigan State, I'm willing to fire him.
Okay.
That's enough for me.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Well, when we get back, we're going to stay on Michigan, but it's not going to be about football. It's actually going to be the basketball program. I'm actually really intrigued to talk about Juwan Howard and what he's building at Michigan. I think we're going to completely disagree because I don't think I am in the direction or the camp that most Michigan fans are with Juwan Howard. We'll do that right after the break.
We are here, downtown Fenton, my favorite Bridge Street Exchange.
That's right. And you want to switch up your wardrobe this summer? It's this easy. You ready, Joey?
I'm ready.
All right, you ready? I like it. You want to do it again?
Yeah, let's do it again.
All right. Ooh, Brixton. Nice. One more time?
Yes.
Ooh, I like the hat on this one, too. You ready to do it one more time, Joey?
I'm getting tired. One last one.
All right, let's change it. Bro, where's your shirt? You need new clothes this summer. Bridge Street Exchange in Fenton. That's where you need to go. Thank you, guys.
Nothing better than to talk about Michigan basketball right now, because honestly, they have been the biggest deal at Michigan, I want to say, the last 6-7 years. It's been a great thing to watch. Juwan Howard turning the program around. They were the #1 seed for the longest time. They got a #1 seed in the tournament as well. But the question is, when do you expect Michigan basketball to win a national championship under Juwan Howard? I am actually going to start this because I feel like you're going to disagree with me completely. I don't care when. If you look at the history, the landscape across college basketball, your Roy Williams, your Krzyzewskis, your Caliparis, these are guys that you're bringing in for a 10, 15, 20-year project. And I'll remind people, like, I could care less if Michigan bounced out in the Sweet 16 this year. Okay? Like, this is like a long-term game. And for me, I look at Roy Williams probably as the most comparable / realistic example. He coached 14 years at Kansas prior to ever taking the North Carolina job. 14 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances, 2 final appearances, and they lost both championship games. But regardless, he walked into the North Carolina job with 0 titles in 14 years. What does he do? He wins 3 in the following 15, 17 years after that. He wins at his 2nd season. He wins at his 8th season. He wins at his 14th season. There's like year gaps between national titles. So I don't want to do that to Juwan Howard. I could give a shit less. I think in 7 years he needs to win 1. That's my idea. That's my realistic expectation of Juwan Howard. I think 2 Final Four appearances, maybe even 3. A lot of Elite Eights, multiple Sweet. You have to be a Sweet 16 across the board probably every single year. Like that's how I see it. I'm not gonna. There's 1 champion every year, Dennis. Like 1 team gets to be national champions. Like how else can I don't know how else I'm supposed to say it. I'm not gonna sit here and say Juwan Howard is gonna deliver Michigan a national title. I don't think so. I don't think it's that easy. And there's only 1 team that can do it. And I think in 7 years, if he hasn't, then you probably move on. But that's my timeline.
Well, Adam, just look at the Big Ten. The Big Ten hasn't won a national championship in 21 years. So, to your point, there's only 1 team. It's been happening. It's not been happening in the Big Ten. They put a lot of teams in the championship games. Michigan's had 2 in the last couple years.
Yep.
But, yeah, being able to ultimately get there. And I get, patience and, where it's at. But, Howard, what he was able to do last year and win the Big Ten and get a shot away from getting to the Final Four and then getting the #1 recruiting class and then getting Hunter Dickinson to come back and then going out and getting the player of the year from Coastal Carolina in that league, this Devontae Jones. You watch a little film of him pretty quick and, you don't have to be some basketball maven to say, you know what, they've got a really good one here. I say all that to look at him and say because of the players they have coming back and the guys that they have coming in, if you say your expectation if you're a Michigan basketball fan is you think that they could go to the Final Four, I think so. I think they should win the Big Ten. I think they can go to the Final Four. And since we're sitting here and it's the 6th of August, if you want to tell me you think they're going to win the national championship or that's what you expect, I'm all right with that. I think that's what they expect. I think they put down their goals for the season, their individual goals and their team goals. I think all those guys are going to put down winning a championship. It doesn't mean they're going to be crucified if they don't, or but that
look at Gonzaga.
Should be the goal.
Gonzaga's been a program year in year out, Elite Eight, Final Four, national championship losses in the finals. Like Michigan, 2 final appearances, lose them both. Michigan State losing to North Carolina. Michigan State losing multiple national championship appearances. Like guys, this is, I don't know. I am not one of those people that will say, Juwan Howard, you need to deliver this season a national title or it's a failure. Like, I think if they get to the title game and they lose, I think that's a failure. I think if they bounce out prior, I think they're building. It's fine. I don't care. But you know that stigma? It's like, wow, Michigan have lost their last 3 national championship appearances. Are they ever going to do it? They turn into a Gonzaga, basically. So that's what I don't want to see happen. I think if Juwan does get to a title game, I think they win it. But I'm not willing to say, hey, you need to win it. I think he has 5, 7, 10 years where it's like, have at it, pull an Izzo, win 1 or 2, and I'd be super impressed.
Yeah, I think a failure of getting to the you want to win if you get to the championship game, of course, but, if you could say, would you take that right now? I might. A failure would be not winning the Big Ten, not making the tournament, getting into the tournament, losing the first game, having some off-the-court issues, those kind of – that's a failure, but what Juwan Howard's done in 2 years has been almost like,
it's been amazing.
Almost been perfect.
Yeah, he's had a great start to his career at Michigan, and – when I say failure, losing the national title game, I don't mean like whole season was a wash, get rid of the coach. No, that's just like, well, another wasted opportunity. I've seen Trey Burke and Jim Beilein blow 2 title games. Like, you keep that same stigma. Michigan can't win the big game. So that's my problem with it. Same with Gonzaga. Gonzaga have that name title on them. That's their persona. They are great in the regular season. They either get knocked out early in the tournament or they make a great run, they get to the Final Four, and then they're exposed. Like, you don't want that. You don't want that if you're Michigan.
Yeah, well, you look at it. I hear what you're saying about that. Basketball, college basketball, is the one sport, though. And winning the national championship is what you want. But getting in the Final Four, that's still something. Like, you talk to Michigan State fans, they're not talking. They got the one national championship. They have that. They're looking to get that other one. But what do they always do? Talk about how many Final Fours that they've been to. Final Fours mean something in college basketball. So, to your argument just a couple
those are
seconds ago,
banners. You
if
put
you
them
say,
up,
hey,
yeah.
Michigan is going to get to the Final Four this year, are you ready to take that? Yeah, I'm ready to take that.
Yeah. Oh, well, they didn't make it last year. They got bounced in the lead, I believe. They upset to
UCLA. They came within a shot. Actually, they had 3-4 shots in under 20 seconds to do it. So they came that close to being able to get there.
Look, I think Michigan on the right track.
Track.
They will develop. I think they have the potential to develop into a Gonzaga, into hell, even the Alabama of the college basketball landscape. Juwan Howard is a hell of a recruiter, and he has the NBA experience. I think his coaching is actually he's a pretty damn good coach. He's proven it over 2 seasons, taking Michigan from what they were to what they are currently. I think it's a great job. I think he's done a great job. I don't think putting an expectation of a natty is. You don't do that in college basketball.
Yeah, I'll tell you that I think the Michigan basketball program, depending on how far you want to go back, I mean, Juwan Howard's only been here for 2 years, but, Michigan dwarfs Gonzaga's basketball program. Mark Few's done a really nice job, but when you look at the championships he has, or championship games either, Michigan, whatever kind of...
are almost equal, if not higher.
Right, and all through the decades. Michigan puts a Final Four championship game in each decade, so there's... It's you think about them as a football school, but when you go through, even
they're
back
actually
to
a softball, gymnastics, and basketball school.
Well, they are. They had they had de facto probation in 15, 20 years ago after the Fab Five.
Yeah.
And, after a couple of the other teams after that, but. They're back. What John Beilein did, and that's the tough part. Like, you look at a lot of the coaches out there, and you say, yeah, Mark Few, who would be the next coach there in Gonzaga? Would they be able to stay relevant? And that was the big part about Michigan. You wondered, like, oh, man, John Beilein left, and not everybody was talking about Juwan Howard coming in.
Wasn't that funny, though? Isn't that funny? We're having the same conversation about the same school. The same school. Yet our expectations and our hopes for Michigan football are that they can beat Michigan State and maybe be competitive against Ohio State. And we're sitting here talking about the basketball team. And, hey, you didn't make it to the Final Four last year. We really think you can do it this year. I mean, the expectations are total. It's night and day.
It is night and day.
It blows my mind. But you know what blows my mind? This next topic. I don't even know how I'm supposed to even answer this. Honestly, I'm still not prepared for it. I really tried. It's something Dennis came up with. It's called If You Could Watch One. And we have to debate what game or moment we'd watch over the other. I am kind of and not looking forward to this at the same time. But we'll do it after the break. Thank you guys for joining.
Tony is a third-generation logger that has a simple, practical approach to life and work. That's why his Coast DX342 knife is perfect for him. The stainless steel blade is rust resistant and made for all-weather use. And the double roll-lock safety ensures that it will never inadvertently close when he doesn't want it to. That's why Coast is trusted tough.
Hey, it's Dennis Fithian. When you turn on the TV, you're bombarded by insurance ads promising to save you money. But if you really want the best deal, you need a local agency that knows the local insurance markets. You need our new sponsor, Legacy Partners Insurance. They're independent, so they get lots of quotes and make the carriers compete for your business. They shop between 7 and 10 carriers for personal, but it could be 50 carriers for commercial accounts. They've been doing this since 1919, and you can trust their reputation and knowledge. It's really a no-brainer. If you hadn't had your insurance quoted this year, call our buddy Mass today at 586-209-4106. That's 586-209-4106.
Are you just
I
know
didn't
how to
realize
distract
karate
me?
was in the Olympics. Oh, homeboy just got dropped.
What the hell is this shit?
They just started this year.
I don't have time
Karate's
for
in the
this.
Olympics.
Sorry.
By the
All
way,
right,
speaking
gentlemen.
of Olympics, have you seen sports climbing?
No, I don't want to watch
Because
sports
that's actually
climbing.
really awesome. They climb up a wall about, I don't know how, I think it's 20
Okay,
feet.
here's my question. Do they climb without a fucking rope attached to them? Then it's not climbing.
No,
It's bullshit.
They do
bullshit.
not. But there's
It's
two
bullshit.
climbing. So there's one
It
where they
doesn't-
race
it's not a
another
real
person.
Sport. There's a
Boop, boop,
fucking
boop, boop, boop.
no.
They
I want to
race.
see life and death. You got to climb up 100 feet, and if you can do it, great. You
And then
get a
there's
gold
one
medal.
where they
You
have
fall,
like
fuck you, you die.
just a wall and they're trying to beat someone's height. That they have no rope.
Whatever.
But
fish.
they have a big, huge, fluffy mat on the bottom.
Well, I hope they fucking snap their neck. I don't give a shit. Cut the goddamn bungee rope. That's bullshit. That's not an Olympic sport.
Okay.
They're passing out medals at this point, and I'm fucking
They're
tired of it.
Olympians. They're not
Fucking
daredevils.
Olympians, my ass. They're not Olympians. They're fucking lazy people that climb up a goddamn rock. Not that I could, but
Well,
I'm not sitting there saying, give me a goddamn gold medal
Say
for
that
it.
to those who are training for the Paris 2024
Fuck you,
breakdancing
fish.
Olympics. tell that to the people training for breakdancing in 2024.
Hey, Fish, you know what? I think cornhole's coming up in 2024. And
Is it?
There's another fucking Olympic sport.
I'm
Fuck
ready
you,
for
fish.
a little cornhole.
Yo, you don't
Well,
want
you
me
got national
problems.
TV.
I'll destroy everyone on this network in cornhole. And I mean
all right.
that.
Just like the Lions are going 10-7.
Can we do
Fuck
our own
you, Art,
Woodward
and fuck
Sports
you, Fish.
Olympics? Can we do our own Woodward
Shut up,
Sports
Fish!
Olympics?
That's a good idea.
God damn
Thank you,
it.
Dennis.
Dennis, this is your topic. If you could only watch one of the following, what would it be? An Olympic gold medal game, the Pistons G League, or Miggy at a plate appearance? What would it be?
Well, this could be real for me. My wife's coming back from vacation, and we're staring at the weekend, and she says this a lot to me. Like, are there any games that you have to watch? Let's say the ones you want to watch. Are there any games you have to watch? And so she'll ask me this. And tonight at 10:30, it's USA France for the gold medal. But before that, you have the Tigers at 7 o'clock. And then tomorrow the Tigers play at 7. And then Sunday, it's 8:30. Tigers play at 1 in the afternoon, and then 8 at night, 8:30, you're going to have the debut of Cade Cunningham in the Summer League for the Pistons. Now it's Summer League. It's Miggy taking his at-bats. And then there is international basketball going for the gold. That's a wide variety, and they're all, so you can watch all of them. You show up at...
Dennis, there's also UFC 265, which you should be watching.
So that's Saturday night. Well, you've got a clear ramp for that if you want it. Well, the Tigers will be on at 7, so you have to decide. Two TVs, watch Miggy.
Well, yeah,
fight,
watch the
Miggy.
Tigers until 10 o'clock and then put the pay-per-view.
All right, so it works.
Yeah.
It works for you.
Yeah.
So you would say
When did the
you would say
prelims start?
UFC.
6?
The prelims start at 7, so I will be fully watching UFC from 7 o'clock on.
So you're going to ignore it. You're going to miss
Whatever.
history.
Would you watch the UFC if they had those head guards on and bodyguards?
No, but let me ask you something. I'm going to a Tigers game on the 17th. There's absolutely no chance that Miggy doesn't hit 500 by then, right?
Yeah, unlikely. I mean, honestly, hitters go through slumps. You never know. But
I hope
once
so.
you get towards that number, just magical things happen.
I thought about going through his game log this year to see how many gaps there were in between home runs. I didn't do it. But.
Yeah, don't. You'll doubt yourself. He'll never reach 500 if you go by his game logs. But he has
He's
had
got
an
2
amazing
more.
30-day stretch.
How many games do you guys think it's going to take? 2 billion?
I'd say under 14 games.
What?
14?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So then I do have a chance then.
Maybe, yeah. Honestly,
August 17th with Shawnee B, right around the corner.
Oh, August 17th.
Yeah.
Oh no shit. Yeah.
What
I
day
think
do you
have a
think it
chance.
was?
Dude, imagine
July?
if it- well,
Yeah, look,
imagine
I mean,
my
September?
first
Miguel
Tigers
Cabrera is
game.
barely hitting for power this year. I mean,
But
you're,
imagine my first Tigers game, because I've never been.
And
is
you
Mickey
catch the
hitting
Mickey
his
ball?
500.
You've never been to a Tigers game?
No, I'm going to Comerica this Sunday, but it's
I
for
hope you
GNR.
catch the ball and you get mauled for it.
They maul these
Yeah,
nuts.
okay.
The power's not there, although it's he has really perked up over the last. If you look at the 40 games, he's doing well, and I think he'll get one. Here's how it's going to go down. If we want to have a little pool and we want to put something down on it, I think he'll get one during this road trip. Then I think he'll come back at home, at the homestand. And I think he'll get it.
Ooh, so it's going to be close.
No. I have a theory on
Here
Miguel
we go.
Cabrera. I think the Detroit Tigers have made separate underground payments to any baseball team they're playing against and convincing their pitchers to pitch to Miggy and not pitch him outside of the plate, outside of the zone, inside too much. They're just, hey, try to give him a chance. Let's just get 500 out of the way, and then we'll cut his ass, because that's what I think the Tigers should do after Miggy hits 500.
Zero chance that chance. Do you realize also that he's got 3,000 and he's sitting with 50 away, so they would want to go
50
there.
away? God damn it.
And then they want
$3,000.
$66 million after
that's
this
why
year.
the Tigers are what they are. Fuck
Here
the
comes
Tigers.
the table slam.
Well,
why
would
am I
slam it back? You're like,
you know what pisses
you'll go
me
into
off?
next year and he'll be
in
the
baseball,
designated
the contracts
hitter.
are guaranteed. That's the fucking problem in baseball.
I think the correct answer is you go into next year, and that's probably in the first month is when
What if
he'll
you
get
whack
to
him?
3,000.
What if you just whack Miggy?
Well, you wouldn't want to do that right now because
Not
right now.
Not right now. I'm
He's
just saying,
hitting.
like, he gets 3,000. Everybody's like on cloud 9. He goes into this like hitting slump over the next few weeks into the next season. And you just whack him.
Well, because there'll be other potential free agents who look and say, "Wow, that asshole in Detroit, Adham."
Yeah, but that's
talk
8
about-
years
and
from
then
now. That is
the
8
owner
years from now. If
is an asshole.
Correa signs an 8-year deal. He's peaking at 35.
You don't do
We're
it
not
for the
extending
perception.
him.
There's a chance that they go into next year after he gets 3,000.
I
he
whack
gets
Miguel
in a
Cabrera if I'm
prolonged
the Detroit
slump,
Tigers.
that he'll look at what the Pistons actually did with Blake Griffin. Nobody thought that they were just going to eat $50 million of his.
Let me retract.
They
Let me
could
not
take $66 million and
Let me
flush
not
it.
kill. I don't want to have somebody dead on my conscience. Let me not do that. I have a better idea. I'll just do what Al Avila has proven he can do. I'll wait for Miggy to get 3,000, and I'll trade him for nothing, because that's all Al Avila knows how to do, is trade for nothing. So we'll give away Miguel Cabrera. Oh wait, even better. We'll eat all of his contract because we know he's untradeable unless we eat the whole contract, and that's what I do, because I have Torkelson that he needs to be up in the majors midway into next season. So you got to trade him before the deadline. Let Miggy go back to Florida. Kumbaya, I don't give a
You're
shit. Or
playing
I'm
the
whacking him.
timeline out exactly right there. So all the things that you're saying, you just played the timeline out. He's going to get 3,000 early next year. They're going to wait to save a year on Torkelson, and depending on how he's hitting there, I do think that there's a chance that they could eat the remainder of the contract, coming up and putting a designated hitter up there. But all of those things have to happen. And if he's hitting like he is right now, you want him. The fans would still want to see him. Of course, you don't want to eat $66 million, but there's a chance that
You
they
have
will.
to either way.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
Not if he comes back and hits like he's hitting over the last month, over the next 2 years. No. There's only a small percentage of a chance that's going to happen.
Even if he hits that well. Let's say he's batting .313 next season, 7 home runs and 40 RBIs.
Great for the what's the numbers?
7 home runs, 40 RBIs. Let's say.
At what point? After 2 months?
After, let's say by July, late July.
You want
313.
You want more from the designated.
You're not going to get him though. You're not going to get 30 home runs out of him ever again. You're lucky to get 20. I mean, and you're going to have to pay him $37 million for the next 2 seasons, correct?
30. They owe him 66 after this year, I think.
You got to pay it. MLB contracts are guaranteed. The fucking Mets are still paying what's his freaking name?
Bonilla.
So
yeah, Bobby Bonilla.
Like, you're fucked in baseball when you give out these
Canada
contracts. That's the thing. You can't land MLB free agents unless you give them that long-term deal. That's why the Phillies got Bryce Harper. He's like, you fucking idiots. You gave me a 13-year deal. If I'm offering Correa a deal, it's 6 years. I'm getting him 7 max, but he won't sign. He's going to take the 8. And that's what he should do.
He might want 12.
And that's what the Tigers will have to do if they want to get him. I think it's stupid. Back to the question.
All right.
Olympic gold medal game, Pistons G League, or a Miggy plate appearance this weekend? I'm taking the Miggy plate appearance. There's more There's like a more historical factor. I could give a fuck if the USA team wins. I want them to lose, actually. I do. I want France to win. I want France to win.
God, you're
I
terrible.
want to see somebody else win. Like, we know we're the shit at basketball. That's like us begging for Olympic football. Like, what?
We haven't
So we just
lost
win?
in-
Our high school, our fucking high school kids
2004, correct,
could win.
Fish?
Yes.
I'm not. I want to see France win. I want to see France.
I don't like the anti-American sentiment.
Thank
here.
you.
No, it's not anti-American. It's anti-fuck basketball. Like, we know we're the shit. Like, why are we?
I mean,
even
do you
there?
like France? If there's something like, hey, your friends,
I hate.
French
I
or
hate.
something?
I lived in France actually for a good amount
Of
of
course
time.
you did.
I
You
fucking
lived
hated
everywhere
it.
in Europe.
Why?
The
Because they hate
biggest
Americans?
jackass, the most arrogant, stubborn, asshole type people I've ever met, and they're also very racist. Actually, very annoying. France, especially in the heart of Paris, fucking jackasses.
And these are the guys you're pulling for
And these
today?
are the guys I'm pulling for. Damn right I am. Get that camera on me. That is exactly who I'm fucking rooting for, baby. I don't want to see the U.S. win. Like what? Okay, here. Let me rephrase it now. I don't think the U.S. will win because they have zero leadership on the court. Is that better?
I would, Kevin Durant. I mean, you're familiar with his game?
That's not my fearless leader. Definitely not my leader.
What?
Come on, France. I know Fish wants France to win.
What?
I actually don't really care who wins.
I want to see Slovenia in the fucking final. That's what I wanted. So I'm already pissed off. I want to see Luka Doncic in the final.
To be
but
honest,
his goddamn teammates can't fucking hit open jump
well,
shots. So
no, it was that. It was a pretty good block that
I don't
France
give a
made at
shit.
the end of the game.
I don't give a shit. They should have closed that game out earlier. They missed like 17 wide
They're
open
calling
threes.
you Snooty Adam in the chat now.
Did you want Simone Biles to fall when she like was?
I'm not a big. No, he doesn't know art.
No, Simone Biles
I'm not
won a
a
fucking bronze medal.
I'm not a
She
big
had a lot of
fan
shit
of.
going on.
I'm not a
gonna
big
give her
fan of
shit.
back-to-backs in any sport. I want competition.
I want competition.
But
I want to see
do
France
believe
win.
that
I could
USA
give a
is
shit.
going to win.
The
Thanks for talking
Team
to me,
USA
by the way.
winning the
Really
gold
appreciate that.
is like Fish doing his fucking job correctly.
No, I mean they lost the.
you won gold.
They lost to France in game one.
I'd rather see
They
an
lost to
upset.
France
Sorry.
in game one, and every single person
I'd
here
rather
went
see an upset.
crazy.
I'd rather see an upset.
Oh my God, the USA lost. What's going on? Holy
There's nothing going on. They just didn't feel like trying,
That's
and
what
they
I
lost.
said.
And France came out and played well, and
I
they
said
played
the
good
same
defensive
thing.
ball. And remember, it is FIBA rules, but whatever. I
Which
could
I
give
love
a shit
FIBA
less.
rules.
I don't care. I don't care if the USA wins the gold in basketball. It's the least thing I'm looking forward to.
You're gonna watch them in the 2023 World Cup, though.
In soccer?
No, in basketball. Ding ding.
You said the World Cup.
Yeah, they have a basketball World Cup. This is how terrible Americans are. Every other country knows the basketball World Cup. America, like, they have a basketball World Cup?
Nobody gives a shit,
Yes,
Fish.
they
It's
do.
basketball. We know we're great.
Well, we actually lost in 2019.
Because we suck.
I believe we lost to France in the semifinals.
So I have a bunch of immature fuckheads playing. Anyways. When we get back from the break.
Would you say that to their face?
When we get back from the break, Fish, we're going to talk Michigan State and Amani Bates, actually, and how NIL is really affecting the recruiting, not only for Michigan and Michigan State, but teams across the nation. We'll get into that next, right after the break. You're tuning into the Woodward Sports Network.
Welcome to the Call Sam Chopper Shop, where you can win a custom-built chopper while helping our veterans at the same time.
Watch as the Bad Pig Custom Team turns this bike into a one-of-a-kind classic chopper.
And when it's finished, we'll be donating the bike to Volunteers of America Michigan to raffle off in support of our vets.
A great cause to give back to those who've given so much.
Watch for Call Sam Chopper Shop episodes on our social media channels and get your raffle ticket today at callsam.com/chopper shop.
God damn it, Art, you have the worst timing on breaks. We're here trying to watch the women's 400-meter.
Honestly thought it was
Team.
Tekashi 6'9" running.
I think I could run the final leg
She
with the
is
kind of lead
amazing.
that Jamaica has.
And here's the last 100 meters. It's actually their best runner now, and she's clearing distance. Let's see if they break a world record. It's 40.82. They're closing in. I don't think they're going to do it, are they? Are they?
39, 40.
Yes.
Oh,
so close.
41.02.
19/10ths of a second out from a world record. Well, that was amazing. Good for them.
You know what I would like to watch? I would like to watch like the most unfit people.
I wasn't
out
even
there.
live. God damn it.
Speaking of unfit
Fuck off.
people, they have that, and it's called the decathlon.
Oh.
Most of those people are
Yeah.
not necessarily
But
fit
if
for
you,
running
if you're an American,
1, 2,
decathlons
and
tend to turn
400.
you into a woman 30 years later. So be careful what you ask
That's
for.
one per.
Wow.
That's
Jesus.
one person. Not the whole
There's not many
country.
people that run decathlons and win gold medals, Fish. So yes, one is a lot, actually, based on sample size. Having said that, Amani
You're
Bates
not wrong.
and
You're
Michigan
not
State.
wrong.
Dennis, do you think Amani Bates will sign to Michigan State? And do they even have a chance with these current NIL NIL restrictions, whatever you want to call them.
Well, it's a new world, is what it is. I think the name, image, and likeness, if there weren't extenuating circumstances when it comes down to Amani Bates and his recruitment, I think Michigan State would have a chance. If it was just like he loved Tom Izzo and he wanted to stay home and he wanted to take 1 year, and he can make money wherever he goes. But I think there's something that stands out there. Not that I know so much as I watch Bates, drop shots in left and right. He has a teammate that if you know Bates' story, like he doesn't go to high school, like he made his own high school.
Yep.
And then he brought a player in that he was going to go to Michigan State with, named Jaden Akins from around this area right here, and he committed to Michigan State. But then he took off from the high school with Bates, so there's something that's going on there. So they're not friends. So, and then Bates was committed to Michigan State, and now he's not. So.
Yeah.
I think if it was, I think just reading the tea leaves there, I think the drama with Atkins is why he would not, if I was a Michigan State fan, I would not get my hopes up that he would be going back to East Lansing.
I'll say this. I think Amani Bates decommitting at the time he did was perfect, right before NIL ever existed. So now that it's here, I think he should command 7 figures from Michigan State. And if they pay up, he goes. And if he doesn't, he'll go take it somewhere else. You have the quarterback at Alabama making over $1 million already in sponsorship deals. Amani Bates, the #1 recruit, you're telling me can't command 6 figures, minimum 6 figures, could easily get 7.
Yeah, I think you're lowballing it a little bit.
Really?
Well,
I think Zion probably, if you go back.
Well, Zion's got a $12 million. He's a good person to bring up because he's got a $12 million contract right now with Nike.
Yep.
And if you looked at the 4 schools when he reclassified, talking about Amani Bates, one was Michigan State, one was Memphis, and one was Oregon. I guess one wasn't a school, one was the G League. He might not want to be bothered with class at all. And then he could look, and Jalen Green was the #2 pick. People say, well, you don't want to go to the G League, you don't want to go to the G League because you don't get recognized. You might not be able to get the recognition, but Green went #2.
Could you explain to me the Amani Bates relationship with Michigan State? Is that like a family tie? Is he like is there an alma mater feel to it, or
no?
So why hasn't Michigan been in the discussion for Amani Bates, considering what the hell they are?
John Beilein had the practice of not offering guys like out of had to bring him in or something, and he never.
Well, now it's Juwan Howard. That's where I'm confused.
Well,
now.
I mean, so there was a chance there. I think the thing with Bates, since the time the guy's been in 7th grade, people have known that he's like going to be the next. Everybody called him the LeBron James, and in fact, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I think a lot of people believed that they were going to up or just do away with the policy that you had to, be out of high school for a year and that you could just go right to the NBA.
Yeah.
So I think that there was just too much there for Beilein, and Izzo was in on him in 7th grade. Izzo, the minute that you could call recruits whenever he turned whatever it was, 17, 15, I don't know, whatever it was, at midnight, Tom Izzo was on hold, calling him. So Izzo was in with him. But I think the thing you look to, Phil Knight in Oregon, they've been paying players under the table, whatever you want to say, the black market. They've been doing that for years, but Phil Knight, he just gave one of the top defensive ends from a couple of years ago 6 figures. But basketball, you're only talking about, you bring in one guy.
It's enough to change
and it can be a lot. So do I think that he would get $12 million on a shoe contract as a 1-year guy for Oregon? That seems like a little high, but if you told me that he could get $3 million from Phil Knight to go to Oregon to be a shoe rep there, I think that easily could happen. I think that could happen.
Man.
I don't know what the thing is with Memphis. He's friends
Penny
with Jalen Duren, I think.
Job there.
And he wants to go to Memphis, so maybe there's like a booster that's, I don't know, some oil
I would fund
tycoon
it.
or something.
If I had oil money and I was in Memphis, I would offer them each $5 million.
Yeah, I don't know actually that Memphis has the greater Memphis area has anything to do with oil. I just maybe it's some gambling tycoon
oil money,
or
I don't
whatever
care
it
if
is.
it's from the Atlantic. I don't give a shit where the oil comes from.
Yeah, I think they could be a package deal. Maybe they're saying, hey, here's $1 million for you, here's $1 million for you guys, go play 1 year. And
do you think they really, man? Like I really wish NIL was a thing back when Zion was, because I think Zion prior to LeBron is probably the biggest draw in college since.
Well, he was the biggest draw, but he wasn't even the highest-rated player that went into Duke
But that
year.
wasn't the point, though. Right?
No, that would have been the point to get the money, though.
Well, financially, I'm talking like the hype of social media, what it does.
He
for
did have
these
the hype
players,
with
you
his.
know what I mean?
He did have recruiting videos like that, so
Mhm.
he would have been paid. But R.J. Barrett was a higher
R.J.
recruited.
Barrett would have gotten paid well. Yep.
So
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't like this. I don't like it. I do think college players should get compensated, but there's got to be a better way. This is like for me.
The thing is, like,
open season on.
it is open season, but guys are
17-year-olds.
doing it already. I mean, it's been going
They're
on
doing
already.
it already, but now that it's legal, you have the leverage. Like players have the leverage now. I think it's great, but I
think it's great for the top guys. I think it's great for
It's
Amani
great for the
Bates.
top guys. I don't think it's a consensus solution for the whole nation. Like, if anything, that puts boosters in more of a situation to win recruiting. Like, it kind of.
You know why I like it?
I don't know.
I like it from a Michigan football standpoint. For years, Michigan fans, whether they've talked about Ohio State or they talked about Alabama, and they lost a recruit to them, they'd automatically say, well, Alabama cheats. They're just paying them. You know, when there was Rashawn Gary, he was the #1 player in the country a couple of years ago, Michigan landed him. And there were a lot of Michigan fans like, oh, Gary, you know, he turned down $300,000 from Clemson. It was, you know, there was a report out there. And Michigan says this all the time about Ohio State, like they can't beat Ohio State. Most Michigan fans, if you ask the diehard Michigan fan, what's been the issue of why Michigan can't compete with Ohio State on the field, they say because Ohio State cheats. They don't say it's because, you know, they'll say Urban Meyer's a scumbag, and they'll say Ohio State cheats and they pay their players and Michigan won't go there. And, you know, that I think makes them sleep at night. Well, you know what? Right now, here in 2021, you don't have to. You could say that because, you know, they had the black market system in place that it helps them, which might be true. But now it's a fair. You don't have that excuse
Kinda
anymore.
fair.
You don't have that excuse if you're Michigan. If you're always saying,
I think it's
Ohio
good.
State just cheats.
Yeah.
Step
I don't
up to
know.
the plate.
I don't know what to make of this Amani Bates thing. Ideally, if Michigan State gets him, I think that's great. I think it's awesome. What they need to do to get him, I don't know. This whole financially, I don't know. This just changes everything. I'm not sure what to make of recruiting right now. I'm really not. So I'm gonna pass on it. Up next, we're gonna talk about Calvin Johnson. He will be inducted into the NFL
Your
Hall
boy.
of Fame. My boy. Calvin
It's Art's
Johnson
boy.
inducted
likes
inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame this weekend. We'll talk about it and preview it coming up next on the Woodward Sports Network.
You know why realtors love using Hall Financial as a lender? Because of our commitment to speed and service. We have nearly 4,000 5-star reviews already. Call today, 248-308-5000, or go to callhallfirst.com.
All right, Fish, a.k.a. Forrest Gump, welcome back to the Woodward Sports Network.
You don't like that
Dennis
movie,
Fithian-
Adam?
What's up?
You don't like Forrest Gump?
Oh, I love
What
the
do you
movie.
have? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love. It's a fucking great movie.
I know, but I just don't picture you as a Forrest Gump fan. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I just don't picture you like, oh,
Explain
it's
that to
time
me.
to watch Forrest Gump.
Dude, it's an amazing movie.
Okay. All right.
Box of chocolates.
Wait, say it again.
No, you're not going to get me. Calvin Johnson's getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this weekend. I think we're all excited for it. Dennis, I just wanted a very simple takeaway on his career. Your thoughts on Calvin Johnson's career, and was it wasted? That's the follow-up question to your takeaways.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, ultimately it was because he never won a playoff game and didn't get a chance. I mean, if you're a professional player, you make a name for yourself in the postseason. And he had the one great game against the Saints where he had 200 yards. And, you know, the pretty nondescript when you talk about the other playoff games and performances there. And then, you know, to boot, once he was done with the Lions, you know, there's the acrimony. The Lions, other teams, you know, pay their players signing bonuses. Tony Romo got all his. Marshawn Lynch got all his. Hell, Andrew Luck got like, I don't know, 20-some-odd million. You can say, hey, Megatron made 120. What's 1.8? Why is he crying? But it's fractured the fan base, and
I think the fan base has been fractured for 60 years.
If you're a Lions hater, you just say, look, playing for the Lions is like, 1 year is like, in dog years, and they're two best players.
I can kind of buy that.
They're two best players in most of our lifetime. Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson left, and
to be fair to
said
the Lions,
said to hell with the organization.
I often don't defend the Lions, but I will say they did get the Matthew Stafford situation sorted out correctly. They traded him, got valuable assets for him. They got a bridge quarterback. I think it's a good move. But that same organization was kind of not in place when Calvin Johnson was going away. So I'm not sure. My takeaways on Calvin's career is he had a 3-year stretch where you could put it up against any all-time wide receivers, and I think he probably wins 99.9% of the time. Probably Randy Moss and Jerry Rice are the only two that can really eclipse his dominant period. Overall, disappointed in his career. From an accomplishment standpoint, as a team, yeah. Never got to win a playoff game. Never got to see him in an NFC Championship game, let alone a divisional round. I think it's unfortunate. His career was wasted, not to his fault. I think he left everything out on the field. I think one of the best wide receivers ever. Easily top 5. I think you can make the argument. But I'm happy for him. He's in the Hall of Fame, first ballot, all-time NFL wide receiving yards in a season. Fantastic record holder. No, I don't know. I don't know what to make of Calvin's career. It's such a clusterfuck of disappointment.
Yeah, I go back.
Not to his fault.
No, I go back and just think about when the Lions drafted him. They had so many issues, whether it was Charles Rogers or Mike Williams taking him in the first round, that you thought, no, don't take another fucking wide receiver. I mean, that's what the people were talking about here in town. They're not going to take another wide receiver. But then Calvin Johnson went out to the combine and ran at 245 pounds, borrowed somebody's shoes, and it was a wind in his face, and run out there and ran a 4.2, 4.35 or something, and you watched it and you said, even though all the stuff that was going on with Matt Millen and drafting wide receivers, you still looked at him and said, you know what, take Calvin Johnson. And they did. There was a lot of take Adrian Peterson. Should they have taken Adrian Peterson? But they took Megatron, and he lived up to it. The team wasn't any good. He was on the 0-16 team. I mean, that sucks. I mean, he didn't have a lot around him, but it just so happened for the years that I was covering the Lions, at the Lions post game for the 8 years, he was on the team. And those 8 years, going to those practices. With the training camp right now, he was always entertaining. You just saw a guy who really was built like he was taller than everybody. He was as big as the defensive linemen that were in the best shape. And then, he's out there and outrunning everybody and making all the catches. And I just think about all the highlights all the way through and all the great catches. Amazing. And I said this yesterday to you, but there was a game against the Bears where they were 80 yards away when you could still dunk and still hang on the goalposts. And it was something that no matter how long I live, I'll always come back and say it was just like he grabbed the ball, took it the distance, went in and slammed it over the goalposts. And I was just sitting there. It's like one of those times like, man, I'm just in awe of Calvin Johnson. Man, it just went up. It was just like amazing all the way through.
I want to wrap the Calvin conversation up with, I think we can all appreciate his time here in Detroit. It was magnificent to watch. So many great moments, so many catches over 2, 3, 4 defenders. I think obviously the greatest wide receiver in Lions history. Great moments, but I want to build off of this, considering the disappointments that he had in his career, and really apply it to what's happening now with the Detroit Lions. So Jared Goff, and there's a lot of ruckus in our chat right now about Jared Goff and a lot of divide. Jared Goff is a bridge quarterback. I don't know how else I can say that for you. He is a bridge quarterback. He last year had a worse QBR than Mitchell Trubisky, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Kirk Cousins, Teddy Bridgewater, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford played on a worse team. Jared Goff made the playoffs last season. Still had a worse QBR, 58.5.
He was also the best in the red zone.
He was not the best in the red zone.
Yes, he was.
It's actually statistically incorrect.
No, you're wrong, and I'll get the stat.
And I'll tell you why. Actually, it's a flawed number because the comparison size is actually not enough. So it's actually wrong. But having said that, moving on. You have to get to the red zone, something the Lions haven't done in the last 3 seasons. So how about get there first, and then we worry about Jared Goff being really great in the red zone. But let's go back to Jared Goff's rookie season. Not all that great. I don't want to judge him too much, but I have to throw it out there. He played a few games. They played 7 games and started an 18 QBR. I mean, whatever. He got better. So the year he went 11-4, and everyone's like, wow, you know what? Sean McVay really turned it around with this guy. 55.7 QBR, and then oh my God, 13-3. Imagine being a quarterback on a 13-3 team. What do you think his QBR would be? Has to be like 75, 80. Mahomes was 84.3 last year, and they went 14-2, I believe. So you think Josh Allen 79.7 last year, so they went 13-3, like 58.5. Oh, excuse me, 63.6, 63. On a team that was 13-3. He follows it up with a 50.6 and then a 58.5 last season. The guy is not a fucking good quarterback. He's not in the league of Stafford. He's not even in the league of Kirk Cousins. Like, holy shit. If you actually break it down, Kirk Cousins is a more efficient quarterback. And we're sitting here debating that we're being Debbie Downers on fucking Jared Goff. Are you kidding me? We couldn't get it done with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, and you want to convince me that Jared Goff, our fucking Lord and Savior, is just going to step in with a worse wide receiving core, a run game that we haven't seen yet, a great offensive line, yes, I'll give you that, but Hawkinson getting doubled every time he steps on the field when they pass, he's going to be doubled. The safety's going to be shadowing. Shut up, Art. I'm not done.
Yep, okay.
10-7.
Right. Can I say... Hey, no,
go ahead, Art.
There's a comment from Bob's Big Boy that said Goff just beat Brady at Tampa in November with 300.
What the fuck? Why do we do that?
Okay.
Goff is 1-0 against Patrick Mahomes too. Would you take him over Patrick Mahomes, Bob? No, the fuck you wouldn't. Shut the fuck up. It's such an ignorant comment.
They also
he beat Tom Brady. Fucking hell! Just.
The comments are also saying that you sound like a serial killer about to rage when you talk about Jared Goff.
He doesn't like Jared Goff, and that's his opinion.
Jared Goff is a bridge quarterback.
You'll love him when they go 10-7, though.
And
You'll love Jared Goff when they go 10-7.
What? No, I won't love Jared Goff if we go 10-7.
What?
If he wins a playoff game, I'll love Jared Goff.
Find a way to.
If he delivers a playoff win for the Detroit Lions, I will eat humble pie on Jared Goff.
They're gonna win the Super Bowl, so they'll have
about what
3
you
of
just
them,
said?
4 of them.
You know what's really unfortunate about what you just said, Fish? Is that, what if Jared Goff goes 10-7?
No,
All the Lions fans are like,
God. They're going
oh my
to.
God, we have a chance to win 10 games, and we're going to win a playoff game because Jared Goff did it with the fucking Rams.
No, we don't have a chance to. We're going to.
This is why you're going to be disappointed at the end of the season. And at the end of the season, when the Lions do finish, let's say, best case scenario, they win 7 games.
I'm disappointed.
6 games.
Listen, I'm disappointed every time I go home, and I still go home. So, you know what? F off. We're going 10-7.
You're not going 10-7. And when the team does win 4, 5, 6 games, I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to be like, you know what? Here's what I took away. I took away that the defense got better. I took away that the O-line finished in the top 5 in PFF rankings. I take away that we actually have a solid run game with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. I'm going to take away that our quarterback probably isn't the guy we'll draft one. I'm not too worried about it. Oh, and whoop-de-fucking-do, we have a lot of salary cap space in the upcoming offseason. And did I forget 2 first-round picks? Fuck you.
You have a comment from a new listener who said, just started watching the show last week, and this guy alone is making me not wanting to watch this anymore.
I'm sorry, but that's the truth, man. You can't handle the truth about Jared Goff. I can't help you. I'm not trying to shit on the guy, but he's an average quarterback.
Yeah, I think the thing to me when it comes down to Jared Goff is you have to realize where the Lions franchise is at right here. It was pretty clear that they're rebuilding. They moved Matt Stafford, and they got a bunch of picks and to take Jared Goff, and they've got him for 2 years. And if you think about, hey, here are the Lions. They're going to start right here, and they can move on. They can move on in 2 years. And there's a part about it that he was the number 1 pick and he went to the Super Bowl, and that maybe there was some drama with his with Sean McVay, with his girlfriend, and maybe that was part of why
maybe he should
he's
have
here.
Smashed his girlfriend. He probably would have been a better quarterback.
Well, here's another thing. Like sometimes you get a change of scene. I agree with you, but here's the argument against it. Sometimes you get a change of scenery. which obviously he has. He's been vanquished here to Detroit.
I have a question, just to build off of it, because I get where you're going with this. So, Dennis, you're working in LA. Weather's beautiful every day. You walk to work. You exercise. You feel great. Every day you're walking to work because the weather allows you to. You're having a great time at work. You're surrounded by very smart people. It makes you up your game. Everything is going well. And then we're going to relocate you, Dennis. You're going to go work in Detroit. A rookie head coach, a rookie boss. The people around you are as dumb, if not dumber than you, and produce the same results that you were producing in LA. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It doesn't work like that.
I don't know what makes
what kills me most.
Sometimes you get a guy when you get a change of scenery and you take all of that away, the LA, and you take him to Detroit. Who knows? I don't know what really is inside and makes him tick. So there's a part about that, and there's one guy, and we don't know it honestly. What Brad Holmes, the general manager, right? We don't know what he thinks, but he was involved in the process of drafting.
That kills me though.
Of drafting him, so maybe he does think it's worth 2 years, certainly 1 year, in a rebuild. That maybe there's finding and I don't think so. I think
I know where you're. I know where you're at on this.
I think it's likely that the Lions are going to take a quarterback in the first round in this upcoming draft.
Look, just because the Lions have been shit for 60 years doesn't mean you can't have standards. If your standards are that shit where, well, Jared Goff won, he won a playoff game. So is Trent Dilfer. Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl. So it's Colin Kaepernick. So has, I don't know, what's his name? Is it the Chicago Bears, Rex Grossman? Guys, fucking grow up. If you're going to use Jared Goff won a playoff game and that's why he's a great fit for the Lions, I can't help you. The Lions are inept of winning games, let alone playoff games. So, I'm sorry. He doesn't have a great team around him. I'm not going to sit at the end of the season when he does have a bad year and say, Jared Goff is a shitty quarterback. He shouldn't be the Lions quarterback. No, he shouldn't be it from now before he's ever thrown a ball. Because I know by the end of the season, he'll have 13, 14, 15, 16 interceptions. He's not going to be a turnover machine. Even if the Lions try to protect him, you are not in a position with this roster. You're not in a position to go out there and win 10 football games. I'm sorry. It's not the reality. Your ideal way to win football games is controlling the clock and running the ball. But you know what happens, Art, when you're down 7, 14, 21 points? You got to throw the ball. So when Jared Goff does drop back and his O-line does protect him, who's he going to throw to? Amon-Ra St. Brown? I hope to God he turns out and he's amazing. I would love nothing more than that. Quintez Cephas? Unproven. Tyrell Williams? Injury prone. Hawkinson? Proven. But we'll get a majority of the attention this year, considering Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones are not on the outside. So he will be getting double-teamed.
Can you just tell me when you're going to start believing?
I believe in the team. I believe in the direction that the team is going in. What I don't believe is that the team is going to win 10 games. It's fucking impossible. They can't do it. And the fact that you're putting that expectation on them is why the Lions have been a miserable fucking franchise for 6 years.
Just because of me and Fish.
It's because of people and idiot fans like you that think they're going to go out and win 10 games coming off a 5-win season.
It's double, and we got double the goodness.
With the loss of their franchise quarterback, the loss of their wide receivers, like they've downgraded and they're somehow supposed to magically be better because Dan Campbell came to town, drinks 2 fucking cups of coffee every morning, and he's, hey, kumbaya, guys. Listen, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but hey, you can wear what you want to work and you can wear what you want to work, and if we all get along, that means we're going to win 10 fucking games. Bullshit.
All the people at training camp seem happy. Tell that to them.
You know what? Everybody's going to be in fucking La La Land and happy right now. And when they go get fucking dick smacked over their first 5 games of the year, tell me how that culture is. Please, tell me how everybody in the building is going to feel being 0-7 going into Philadelphia.
You mean smack the other team, right? 7-0.
You said, God damn it, Fish. If the Lions win 3 games in a row this year, I would be very fucking impressed. Anyways, thank you guys for joining. Sorry for the...
Well, the prediction was you were going to slam the table in the first 2 minutes, and it took to the last 3 minutes. So I think the people that were putting the money down on that, we should have started, and we did start talking about Jared Goff.
Look at Bob Big Boy. You sound like you fucking work at Big Boy. You're an idiot.
I used to work at Big Boy. It's a great establishment.
This guy says Amon-Ra St. Brown, Hawkins Swift aren't bad targets. Need one more guy to step up. You're relying on a rookie wide receiver taken in the 3rd or 4th round to be your fucking number 1. What are you like? What? I can't
Did you have a good experience working a big boy
I
art?
can't help dumb people.
I loved it.
I can't help dumb people.
There's
All I
nothing,
can
there's
do is
nothing wrong
provide-
with having a little enthusiasm if
That's
you're a
not
fan. But
enthusiasm.
I think
That is delusion.
I think people will understand pretty quickly that this is
it's a rebuild process.
rebuild.
I think the Lions can actually be a very good team in 2 to 3 years from now. I think they actually can. I think St. Brown can actually be a steal in the draft, just like I think their offensive line is going to be a force to reckon with over the next 5 to 7 years. But you don't know if it's better coaching yet. It's a better culture. You don't know if they're getting better coaching. Anthony Lynn just got fired from the Chargers, and he won 5 of the last 7 games. Aaron Glenn moved on. Great. Defensive coordinator. Somebody tell me about the Saints defense, because that's been a pretty fucking shitty part of their franchise for the last 10 years. So please excuse me. And they had Janoris Jenkins. So don't give me that shit. That's it for today. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Dennis, thank you. It's been fun the last 2 days.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
It was fun working with you.
Just to make it clear, someone said that I put somebody in timeout on YouTube. I would never do that. So
we shouldn't. I will find out who that person is. It's probably Jeff. I don't know why we'd put somebody in timeout. As long as you're not saying anything racist or...
No, they said that I was the worst and then said something else and then they were in timeout.
What was the something else?
It was Ryan. Ryan, I love you.
Ryan Reactions?
Yeah,
we love Ryan. No. Okay, we'll take care of that after the show. Anyways, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is The Hook on the Woodward Sports Network.